maybe because the financial literacy wasn't there. And I think that this is important to reflect upon because what it kind of does, in my opinion, is it opens that door for us to really understand why we're here. Like what are we doing here? Like what is this? And because this conversation, like we get up every single day and we do this every single morning at 10 a.m. and we can't just be doing it just for the money. Like we can't just be doing it just so we can flex on our friends and drive a Bugatti and and get buy Gucci at the store and all that. Because all that stuff is kind of silly after a while. Like eventually, if you have it, you get tired of it. You get bored with it. Like that's why Deion Sanders, if you remember, Deion Sanders also talks a lot about how he was actually suicidal or he was ready to take his own life when he was at the peak of his career. And you would say, why would a man who has all the money, all the women, all the power, all the fame, all the success, why would he feel so sad that he doesn't even want to be on this earth anymore? And I think it's because he didn't have his purpose. He had all this stuff, but he didn't know what to do with it. And I think that that's a problem a lot of young people run into, especially if you're listening to people that are in that low vibrational, superficial mode. I think that there's energy that makes us very low vibrational, where you're playing survival nomics and struggle nomics instead of playing power nomics. I think about that whole conversation. I did a whole podcast episode. By the way, I do have a podcast. It's called the Dr. Boyce Breakdown. I have another one called Dr. Boyce Daily Stock Market. If you guys want to go on Spotify, just look up my name. There's 2 or 3 podcasts. I keep different. I kind of compartmentalize my content because I know sometimes people don't want to hear me talk about topics outside of financial stuff. So I respect that. And anyway, I was talking for a while about the conversations that happened even during the debates that have to do with black jobs and what is a black job. I know a lot of people were asking, like, what is a black job? What is a black job? And I said, yeah, I don't really want to talk about black jobs for too long. I'm not saying they're not important. They do matter. Black jobs do matter. But I said, instead of just talking about black jobs, why don't we finish the conversation? Why don't we finish the discussion instead of talking about just black jobs? Why don't we talk about black wealth? Why don't we talk about black owned? Why don't we talk about black health? Why don't we talk about black children? Why don't we talk about black success? Why don't we talk about black excellence? Why don't we talk about black education? Why does everything have to be black jobs? Black jobs, black jobs, black jobs. I'm looking for my black job. I want Trump to give me my black job. And I said, yeah, but if Trump is giving you your black job, he gonna give you the nigga job. Excuse my French. Like that's just it's I know it's Sunday morning. I promise I won't cuss no more. But that's what they're gonna give you. Like why would you think that your only pathway to success and power in this world is is for a guy like a Trump or a Biden to just give you your black job? I don't care who says it. I don't care if a Democrat or a Republican says it. Just the fact that my life is limited, my options are limited by whether or not somebody chooses to give me my black job. That's a real dilemma right there. That's a real problem. That to me does reflect a type of low vibrational thinking where that's kind of the best you're going to get. Is that you hope that you get your black job, you hope that your black job pays you a good black salary and that you are able to get the best black job you could possibly get. Um I'm gonna tell you, I don't think that's the best you can be. I don't think that's the mountaintop for any of us. I don't think that's where we're able to go as a people. I think that we're better than that. I think that we're capable of doing more than that. And anyway, so before I just get started, before I move on, can you all hear me? Give me a quick yes if you can hear me. Okay, let me know. I got the mic kind of far from me, and as you all know, when I'm traveling, you get issues with Wi-Fi and audio and all that, and I want to make sure I'm not like going in and out or something crazy like that. I know in my last hotel, I've been in hotels all weekend because our daughter was doing she was doing her dance nationals and the whole dance, let me tell you, the whole like dance industry for little girls it's such a racket. It's a complete racket because they got all these different organizations and they all have their own version of nationals. And I was like, how come every time we go to the nationals are always in Illinois? I thought that they would have nationals in Hawaii or California, or like when I did track and field, I did AAU track. And when we'd have nationals, one year it'll be in Florida, the next year it might be in California, then the next year it's going to be in New York. But no, every nationals was in Illinois. I said, they can't always have the nationals in Illinois. And what I found out was that they have like 40 different events they call the nationals. And it's all just and it's just they just suck up your money. So we were in hotels and watching the dance stuff and everything. And and just trying to be a good dance dad. That's my goal. I ain't gonna lie, it's a little boring for me, but I try my best to focus and to enjoy it, and also to me, I think if you love your kids, you love what they love. So if she loves it, I love it. I'm her number one fan. But anyway, with that said though, so yeah, so now I'm in a different hotel, and I was wondering about the Wi-Fi here. So thank you for giving me the yes to let me know you can hear me. All right, so let's talk about money and options, though. I really think it's important to kind of have a conversation about just what that means. What does that even look like? So, because when you're trying to form a vision for your life, one requirement of having a vision is that you have to know what the vision looks like. A lot of people either have no vision or they don't know what their vision is supposed to look like. So they borrow someone else's vision, or maybe they just have no vision. And you say, okay, so what do you want to be? Like, what do you want to be in your life? And they'll say, I want to be rich. Because everybody says they want to be rich. That's a very popular future profession for lots of people. I want to be rich. Okay. How are you going to get rich? And a lot of young people are like, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that you want to do a really hard task, but you have no idea how you're going to do it. You want to go to a really far away destination. And so I say, well, where do you want to do in your life? Well, I want to get to Cincinnati. And you say, well, how are you going to get there? By car, by bus, by plane? Well, I don't know. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, good. Do you know where Cincinnati's located? Where's it on the map? I don't know. I don't know. Right? Have you done anything to move yourself towards Cincinnati? Did you get a bus ticket, a plane ticket? Did you start walking? And no, 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 I've been sitting here. Well, bro, you ain't going to Cincinnati. You're gonna be stuck right here in El Segundo or wherever you at. You're not going anywhere. And I think that is and just an interesting observation. You'd be amazed if you look around and you hear people talk about their future, and they lay things out that are amazing and beautiful, but they don't really, I don't think they're able to see the vision. So I wanted to talk about options because I was really a little bit annoyed with that whole black jobs conversation, to be honest with you. I just kind of didn't understand the obsession with black jobs. I did explain in the podcast episode, and by the way, you can find it on Spotify, or you can go to drboycetv.com if you want to hear it. I did explain what I think someone might mean when they say black jobs. I've heard Democrats say it, I've heard Republicans say it. So a black job could either be defined as jobs that are held by black people, or it could be defined in a more egregious way, which would be jobs that are relegated to black people. That this is the black job, this is the white job, this is the Asian job. For example, I would say basketball player or something, or rapper, is typically a black job. Like NFL player, that's a black job. Team owner, that's not a black job. Jerry Jones and all the other team owners do not look like you and I. Maybe if you're talking about garbage man or something, maybe that used to be a black job to some people. Senior engineer at Google is not a black job. That's not, because if you go to the meeting of all the senior engineers at Google and you gather them all in a room, you're going to see a whole bunch of white guys, you're going to see a whole bunch of Indian people and Asian people, and you might see one or two black people, but you won't see a lot, right? So basically, to some extent, there is, in my view, in America, there is a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy of what they consider to be the black jobs versus the white jobs. And one thing that I always remind you guys about when you talk about things like integration, like why were people so eager to integrate you? It was for the similar reasons to why they're so eager to bring in immigrants from other countries. When they open the borders and they let people in droves into the United States, that boosts the economy, by the way. That does boost the economy because it increases the labor supply. It increases the numbers of young people in your economy. A lot of economies are struggling and dying. Japan and other countries are dying because they don't have enough young people. They just don't. They don't. Their population's getting old. They're not reproducing. Japan is begging. I heard that there was a brother that told me this weekend. Is this true? There's a brother I met I went into the Armani store for a minute just so I could just see how ridiculously overpriced the clothes were. I didn't buy anything, but I talked to a really nice brother, and he said, yeah, man, they're paying black men $75,000 to come to Japan and make babies. And I was like, who the hell came up with that policy? Why did they like that? That's a black job for your ass right there. I mean, I was thinking, what is it about black men that makes them think that we're the one? Like, again, they didn't say we're paying money for men. They black men in particular. I said, Lord Jesus, that's okay. I heard, and the things, that's got to be a myth. I said that can't be true. I cannot imagine them saying I will pay black men money to come to Japan, and that didn't make any sense, right? So I don't believe it, by the way. I believe it's got to be a myth, but I've heard it in about 5 different places, which is kind of crazy. So anyway, so let me get back to it. Let me get back. So a lot of societies are struggling because they don't have enough young people. So the United States, one way that they're trying to strengthen the economy long term is by bringing in as many immigrants as possible. Now that works definitely for the elite. Those who own businesses and corporations, they benefit because when the labor supply is higher, they can get more labor for a lower cost. So that means that if you get upset because you're only making $18 an hour and you demand 20, then they replace you with, an immigrant, robot, whatever they can do. Amazon, in fact, Amazon has I think they've deployed 750,000 robots. I put this on my Instagram, which is Dr. Boyce Finance. They have deployed 750,000 robots and eliminated 100,000 jobs. And if you don't think they're going to eventually deploy 2 or 3 million robots to eliminate 1 million jobs, you're crazy. They're going to do everything they can to get rid of the human element in their factories because human beings can be very costly to hire. They want labor rights. They want bathroom breaks. They want to unionize. Robots will never do these things, and they don't sleep. They can work as long as the batteries last. So this is kind of the society that you're getting into. And in fact, if you want to sort of prepare long term for this, I believe that investing in these AI companies is one way to kind of sort of mitigate some of that risk. And I put together a list of AI stocks that I'm personally investing in over time. If you want to get that list, just text the word stock to the number 87948. Text stock to 87948, and you'll get profit alerts, and also you'll get that list of AI stocks. It'll be the first thing that comes to your text message. So let's go back. Let's go deeper into this though. When you're talking about money and options, let's circle back to that because I know we talked about the population and youth and all that. And integration. So integration, in my opinion, was done so that they could have a bigger labor supply. And when you integrate a group of people that are so-called outsiders, you don't integrate them to take the best jobs. You integrate them to do the worst jobs. You don't integrate them to be the boss. You integrate them to be the subordinate. They're not bringing any immigrants from other countries in so that they can come and run our companies. They're bringing immigrants in mostly so they can be employees in these organizations. I believe integration was done in the same way. When we were integrated into society, we were integrated so that we could get the black jobs. And the black jobs were not the high paying jobs. They were not the safe jobs. They were not the high quality jobs. They were the jobs that were dangerous and low paying and the jobs that nobody else wanted. And so, really, to some extent, if you want a job other than the black job, then you have to think of it in a very simple way. If I move into another man's house and he says, which room do you want? I am I going to sleep in the master bedroom? If I move into another man's house and he's got a wife and 4 kids, and he asks, and I come in and I'm trying to figure out, well, which room am I going to have? Which room do you think I'm going to get? The master bedroom? Or am I going to get the room that is for the guest? What room is that called? What's that room called? It's called the guest room. Right? He's gonna if I come in and I say, well, I'm hoping that since I'm such a good guy and I'm a nice person, I work hard like you, that I can get the master bedroom and maybe I can even sleep with your wife. And he's gonna say, you're crazy. You can't, not only can you not sleep with my wife, you better not sleep with my wife, but also you're gonna sleep in the guest room that's because you're a guest. So to me, I think when you talk about the term black jobs, that's what I think about. I think about the fact that you're in an economy that is owned and controlled and run by other people, and in that economy, you think that you're going to sleep in the master bedroom eventually, or that if you serve the economy long enough, eventually they'll let you sleep in the master bedroom and get the spoils of owning the house, when really they're going to put you in the guest bedroom or give you the black job, right? The black job is the guest bedroom in the American economy. It's basically this predicated on a very simple idea that says that if you are walking into a space that is foreign to you, that is not owned and controlled by you, then the power will not belong to you. That is not going to be your space. You're not going to get to decide where you want to be in that system. Again, I don't want you to understand. I want you to internalize this. Let me know if you're getting this. Sometimes I might overplay the analogy, but it's because I want to make sure everybody understands. There's no way I can move into a house that's owned by somebody else and expect to sleep anywhere other than the guest bedroom. It would be crazy for them to say, no, 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 I'll stay in the guest bedroom. You sleep in the master bedroom. That people don't do that. Do you understand? So if you want to sleep in a master bedroom, then you're gonna have to be the master. Do you understand? The master will never let you sleep in the master bedroom because the master bedroom is for the master. The black job is for black people. The master job is for the master. So a lot of us every day when we go to work, we don't realize we do have a master. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that there's somebody who's taking away our options. We're trading our options in for money, and it's the person who tells us when we have to arrive, what we have to do with our time, when we can even go to the bathroom sometimes, and to some extent in that particular space, we're agreeing to accept the master's rules because we're in the master's house. So, and then in addition to being in the master's house, we accept the job that the master will allow us to have. So there is such a thing in America, in my opinion, as a black job. I do believe that. I don't believe that we were integrated into the American economy to run the damn economy. So in order for you to sleep in the master bedroom, you're going to have to go build a house. And sometimes it might mean that you can't sleep in a house as nice as the one that you were in before. Master's house has been built for 400 years. It's a big, strong, powerful house. I go work for Goldman Sachs. They have corporate events. They're beautiful. They're amazing. You're in fancy hotels. You get a corporate credit card. You get all kinds of, really high salary and big fancy office. And then you go start your business. You say, well, I'm gonna build my own house. Well, that house is gonna be a little bit raggedy for a while. It takes time to build a house. It takes time. The people that founded Goldman Sachs spent a long time building Goldman Sachs. So unless you're willing to spend a long time building your own house, then you'll never get to sleep in the master bedroom because master owns that house, and somehow someone convinced us to take these shortcuts or to believe that these shortcuts are possible. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about money and options. And so you guys know I talk a lot about stock options, and I believe stock options are the best way on earth I've ever seen to make money. We have the Prime program. If you want to take a look, go to drboyceprime.com, and the Prime program is a great way to learn how to start selling stock options to make money. This is how I make my money every week, and this is how I pay for hotels and trips and whatever me and my wife want to do. It's something people don't talk enough about, but I really think it's worth exploring. So drboyceprime.com if you want to see what we do in our class. But anyway, let's not talk just about stock options. I want to talk about options, period. Money is a beautiful thing to master, not just because it can buy you material items, but because money just gives you options. Money, having access to money, having access to resources creates one less barrier for you to do what you want to do. So let's think about it like this. How many of you can think of a lot of times in life where maybe your parents wanted to do something for you, but they couldn't because they didn't have the money? Give me a guess if you remember any moments like that in your life. And give me a guess if you know times in your own life, even now, where maybe there are things you might want to do for yourself, for your kids, places you want to live. Maybe you want to fly first class instead of coach, but you can't because money's kind of getting in the way. Or how about this? Days where you're sleepy and you want to sleep in, you would give anything for an extra 2 hours of sleep, but you can't sleep in because you got to get up because you have to go to work. Right. So these are examples of where money becomes a barrier, and a lack of money can create a lack of options, where that there is a barrier between where you are and happiness. Happiness is over there and you're over here, and you want to build a bridge between where you are and where happiness resides. Happiness might mean a couple hours of sleep. Happiness might mean a day at the spa. Happiness might mean more time with your parents. Happiness might mean going to the gym. Happiness might mean watching Netflix. Happiness might mean dating who you want. Happiness might mean living in another city. Happiness might be over there, but you're over here, and money is the barrier. Money, the bridge of money required for you to go from where you are to the place where you're going to be happy. That bridge has a void. There's a big gap that keeps you from getting there. That's the experience of a lot of people. And this is one of the reasons why I think that the best gift you can give to your child is not just economic resources, but also economic understanding. Because a person who understands economics, if they understand money and they have some money and then they know how to get more money if they need it, that person is a bridge builder. That person is a rainmaker in their own life. That person is not someone who's going out seeking opportunities. They can create opportunities. That's not a person who's looking for the black job. They can create a black job if they want. They can even create a white job if they want. And then when they choose a job, they can choose whatever job that they want. that is a person that has options. That's a person that tends to be happier and freer and just more open to all the possibilities that life can provide. So here are some examples of where money can create options, and why I'm hoping to convince you that economic intelligence should be a fundamental core value within your family. It should be right up there with going to church, or right up there with exercising, right up there with love and all the other values that you may have. Not because money is a god, not because you should worship money, but because if you master money to a certain level, then you can get money out of the way and really get to the business of living life. So here's some examples of where money might create options. One, if you want the day off from work, money will give you the day off from work, so you can sit around and think about your purpose and why, what you want to do with your life and what really matters to you. So instead of going along with masses plan, you get to go along with your plan or God's plan. Right? You get to get in touch with the universe and meditate and think about things, and you're not distracted by all that time you got to spend on the factory floor or in the corporate office. Also, if money allows you freedom in relationships, a lot of times, think about how many times people will, especially it happens a lot with women. I thought about this a lot when I was writing my book, Financial Lovemaking. I saw a lot of examples where women were dating men that they would not have chosen if those men, if they'd had their own money, or if the man did not have money. A lot of people will sleep with other people because they're looking for somebody that can help them pay the bills. They will, you'll see it all the time. You see, anytime you see a 25-year-old dating a 58-year-old, some fat, ugly 58-year-old man, well, you know that there's money behind the equation. So you have to wonder, like, what would she choose if she had enough money or had her own money, or if he had no money? Like, how does money kind of shift that variable? Or even for men, a lot of times you'll hear men say, well, it's cheaper to keep her or whatever. So I'm afraid of exploring myself and living the life I need to live, because a divorce would be so financially devastating that I just can't afford to do it, or whatever it is, right? Or men even, men. I think even a lot of men's self-esteem is driven by how they do financially, and so I think that in terms of having options for yourself, if you're talking about dating, I can tell you this: when I went from being a broke graduate student to making $100,000 a year as a finance professor, my dating options exploded tremendously. And then when I became a millionaire, it was too explosive. It was too much. It was too overwhelming. And so I'm not saying that this is the pathway to go, but I can say that money does matter. And money matters in dating, in relationships, in ways that people, they don't want to admit. They want to act like it's a non-entity, but no, it's a huge entity. It's a huge variable. Also, you can travel freely. I mean, I think traveling is something that everybody should do. If you have plenty of money, you can go around the world. You can learn about different cultures. There's a lot of limited thinking that happens in America because we don't see other countries. We don't know how blessed we are sometimes because we've never seen how unblessed other people are. If you ever go to, parts of Africa and Bangladesh and other places, I mean, to see the really poor areas, they have a level of poverty that's just absolutely inhumane. It's inhuman. It's insane that we allow other human beings to live this way when we've got people like Elon Musk who are making 10, $20 million a day. I just don't. I think that's honestly, from an ethical standpoint, that's insane to me. I don't get it. Also, when money's out of the way, one thing that's going to happen with your children when you have gotten rid of the financial stress is they're going to start operating on a higher vibrational frequency. Some might say the negative interpretation would be that they're out of touch with with the problems of poverty, right? And that's a legitimate critique, that they're not going to be able to relate to not being able to do what you want to do because you don't have enough money, because that won't be their experience. That could be the negative of it, but the good side of it. The good side of being out of touch is that if you are operating and vibrating on this higher frequency, yeah, your feet aren't going to be on the ground anymore. You're not going to have to worry about what's happening on the ground. You're thinking about what's happening in the clouds. So ultimately, I personally will admit that I kind of enjoy the idea of knowing that my children could really find out who they are and what they want to do without money shaping who they are and what they want to do, without money defining what job they're going to take. They don't have to go take the black job. They don't have to take any job because they know how to create a job, or they know how to walk away from jobs if they want to. Jobs, see, the thing is, and I'm saying this as a finance guy. I've been teaching this finance stuff for a long time, and let me just tell you, I've come to the conclusion that capitalism, number one, it ain't nothing but pimping. That's what it's really pimping. And if you understand how pimps operate, you understand capitalist systems very, very well. Pimps are able to extract resources out of vulnerable people. Pimps are able to manipulate people psychologically to get them to do work on their behalf so they can extract things from you, and they operate and they maintain that control through fear or insecurities, various insecurities. If you're financially insecure, emotionally insecure, and physically insecure, then you're a perfect target for a pimp, because the pimp will offer a semblance of that security in exchange for a massive wealth extraction. They're going to take the very best of you. They're going to make you give up things that money can't buy. Like they literally suck your soul out of your body, in addition to your money, in exchange for providing things that effectively fill voids that I believe should have been filled by somebody else. They should have been filled by your parents. They should have been fulfilled by your father. But when those voids are there, they can spot it in a second, and they're able to just extract things from you. So let me explain the capitalist pimp. Capitalist pimps, and I'm talking about the very worst of capitalism. I don't think all people in the capitalist system are bad, but there are some that will just destroy your life and suck your soul out of your body and not give a damn. Think about how many people you know who hate their job so much that it's just depleted their spirit, their entire spirit. It's depleted all their energy. It's depleted they suck away your hopes and dreams. You see a lot of depression and anxiety from people going to work every day doing jobs that they hate. There's a lot of mental illness that can happen just from the fact that you just feel trapped. And this is very natural. This is that soul sucking process. This is the same way when you have the dreary eyed prostitute who just takes drugs so she can numb her mind enough to do what is required to fulfill the wishes of the pimp, because the pimp controls her whole life, right? So he's it's like this demonic soul draining kind of process where he's like, bitch better have my money. You know what I'm talking. Y'all know the song AMG, right? So the point of the matter, and forgive me for being direct and vulgar with this, but this is the reality. So when you're in a situation where you don't have options and no one prepared you with options, no one gave you any resources, then capitalism does a very good job of kind of controlling your life. That's where you see college graduates who don't have a nickel in their pocket, and a ton of student loan debt, who they could literally find one direction they want to go and say, this is where God is telling me to go. This is where my passion tells me to go. But then let's say that going this way, they're going to get 30,000 a year. But then somebody says, well, if you go this way in the direction your passion is not telling you to go, we'll give you 52,000 a year. Well, they're gonna reverse the whole bus, right? They're gonna do a whole U-turn on their life over, a measly $20,000 a year. And here's the reality that I'm here to share with you, and I hope that you'll hear me on this. If you plan ahead when it comes to family wealth, if you give yourself a 5, 10, 20-year plan, $20,000 ain't nothing. It's nothing. I mean, it's amazing to me how many people I know who will derail and transform their whole entire life over very small, insignificant amounts of money. The money seems large because you're trying to earn it all really quickly. It's like if I try to go, it's like, think about it like this. Here's another way to look at it. This is what goes through my head. I hope I can communicate this. Think about it like this. 75 miles is not a long way, right? It's very easy to go 75 miles. But what if I said you got to go 75 miles in 30 seconds? That's impossible. That would be absolutely impossible for you to do. But if I give you time and I say, well, in the next 2 weeks, you're gonna have to go 75 miles. Well, you can go 75 miles over, 100 times in that amount of time if you start early, if you don't wait to the last minute, if you don't waste time. So this is when I explain to you all that time is the most important variable when it comes to building wealth. The biggest thing people waste is not their money, it's that they waste their time. Wasting your money is not as detrimental as wasting time, because, to be quite frank, the Black community does not have a lot of money. But one thing that we do have on equal footing with every other group in America is we have plenty of time. Everybody gets the same 24 hours in a day. You still have the same 8,760 hours in a year. The question is, what are you doing with that time? And are you applying that time to prepare for the difficult choices that are going to have to be made ahead later on? That can be detrimental if you don't have enough resources. So 20 years from now, in the year, what is it, 2024, in the year 2044, Some of you have kids or grandkids that are going to have to make some really important life decision, and their heart and their passion is going to guide them to go east. But then there's somebody's going to offer them a measly amount of money, maybe another 20,000 a year, or whatever that is in 20 years. So let's say it's 60,000 a year by then, right? Some measly increase in pay that's going to cause them to derail and go in a completely different direction. That's going to lead to a little bit more money, but a lot more misery, a lot more unhappiness, a lot more unfulfilled dreams, a lot more sadness, a lot more soul sucking devastation, right? But they're going to do it. Why? Because they're being offered a little bit more money to endure that pain. And by you preparing for them financially, then they're going to be able to say, no, I don't, the money's not enough to make me go in that direction. Do you understand? Like for example, I know people who have literally gone to prison 30 years so they can get an extra $200. $200 is not a whole lot of money. Now, at least it definitely ain't worth 30 years in prison, but there are some of us, because of the financial devastation, the financial desperation, that end up we vibrate on such a low frequency that in order to get a small amount of money, we will give away something that money should never be able to buy. Your life, your time, your freedom, your physical health. You know, you go sleep with somebody because this guy gave you $300 to help pay the rent. $300 is not worth your body, but then in that situation, it feels that way because you have no other way to get the money. So this is where planning really comes into play. Money provides options. People that have plenty of money, people that have financial security, are able to live a better life because they can make choices where money is not even a variable in the decision-making process. And so when you imagine the life that you want for yourself, when you imagine the life you want for your kids, when you imagine the life that you want for your grandkids, I want you to just imagine a world where you can imagine a world where money didn't exist. Imagine a world where it's all about just making the best decision for yourself, and money is not a variable in that choice. Do you understand? And then at that point, I think you'll get a sense of what it's like to live life with plenty of options. So here's some other examples. If you talk about education, even money becomes a barrier when it comes to what college your kids pick, things like that. Where you want to live. Some people say, hey, I want to live in Hawaii, but then they look and they see the price to live in Hawaii, or they see that their job is in Idaho or whatever. So they got to go live in Idaho when they dream about living in Hawaii. When it comes to supporting family, I'll never forget when I had a friend who told me, she said, you know, Boyce, I used to never listen to, I got a lot of relatives and loved ones who don't listen to a thing I say, who won't ever come to this class, who literally don't care what I do. And it's okay. I don't like to be preachy to people unless they want me to preach about something, I will. But for the most part, I don't believe in being pushy on people that don't want to hear it, because it stresses them out and it stresses me out and it's just not fun. But one day she called me. She said, Boyce, I used to never listen to anything that you said until my mother got sick with cancer. And the doctor told me that she had 7 months to live. And so because my mother was dying, I wanted to spend every minute in the hospital with my mother because her mother was her best friend. And she said, I was furious when my boss called me and said, if you don't leave the hospital and come to work right now, you're going to get fired. And because I was struggling, I had to go pay the bills. I had to go to work. I had to leave my mother's bedside as she's dying to go to this stupid job that wasn't even paying me that much money. And I felt bad for her. And I don't think anybody should have to live like that. You know, I don't. And I think about this friend that I have who told me this, and I know that a few things happened culturally that should be addressed when it comes to wealth in the Black community that are not always politically correct, but have to be addressed if we're going to really elevate and vibrate on our highest frequency. And I thought about her father, and I thought about the fact that her father abandoned her when she was a baby, or maybe her mother disconnected from the father. I have no idea, but I know that if she lived in a world where she had a parent or two who knew and had the discipline to do the things necessary to prepare her for those difficult life battles that lied ahead, she never would have had to make such a horrible choice. She never would have to go back to a low-paying job instead of sitting by her dying mother's bedside. She would have been able to say, you know what, I'm taking a 6-month leave because my mother's dying and I need to go spend time with her. I just really, and the thing is that anybody who's sitting here, if you're talking to me every day, you have all the tools that you need to 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 prepare that kind of a life for yourself and for the children too. You have everything you need. You just have to execute. And the thing is, you have to execute before it gets too late. Because what happens is that, unfortunately, when we're trained to be reactive as opposed to proactive, reactive means you wait till the disaster happens and then you freak out about it. You cry about it, you whine about it, you talk about how terrible it is to have to take a black job when you really want the white job and all that stuff, and how oppressed you are. And that's reactive. You react to oppression. We cry, we scream, and we holler about it. But I don't believe in just being reactive. If you're disciplined, you're going to be proactive. You're going to have a consciousness level where you can imagine how horrible you're going to feel when you have to walk away from your dying mother's bedside so you can go to that raggedy ass job, and you're going to say, I don't want that for me. I don't want that for the babies. I don't want that for the kids. So we're going to make little investments right now. We're going to take little steps right now so that we're going to be ready, so that when those days come, because they will come, they will come. I got two parents that had cancer this year. The day will come. And when that day comes, you're going to be ready for that. You know, when I found out my parents both got sick, oh, I was on that plane quickly. I got my siblings on the phone quickly. We made a plan quickly. And our ability to execute that plan was a culmination of 40 years of preparation. If one of us had been out, strung out on crack, sitting around with our baby's mamas and wasting time and didn't want to go to school, didn't want to study, didn't want to save, didn't want to prepare, then it would have been very difficult for us to activate the family as a protective unit to show up for the people that we love. It would have been hard for us to do. And I get it. I know some of us, sometimes we don't make all the choices we should have made, but Lord, I mean, you got to get ready. You have to prepare. And I think that preparation needs to be our culture. Preparation needs to be one of our tip top values that we possess, because nobody is under attack more than Black people. Nobody is under the risk of oppression than Black people. So if anybody has a reason to be prepared and to make sure that we are secure financially, emotionally, spiritually, otherwise unified, whatever it is that you need in your family to be strong, it's us. We're at the top of that list. So I would just tell you that when you go back to that term like Black jobs, that kind of speaks to the fact that you're at the bottom of the economic food chain. When you kind of even have this concept of a Black job, and then you have a guy like a Trump telling you what your Black job is going to be, or Biden talking about Black jobs. But none of these individuals are ever interested in taking a Black job. They're like, no, the Black jobs are for Black people. They're not for me. Like I'm Donald Trump. I own hotels. I have billions of dollars. I don't want a Black job. Then I think that means that you need to reflect a little deeply on the role that you've been given in this economy and the mandate that is required for us to build alternative economies where we get to be the ones in control. I even think about LeBron James and his, I love the fact that he brought his son to play basketball with him. I think his son's problem is that he's short. He's not as tall. He lists himself as 6'5" or 6'6", but he's really like 6'2". So I think that's going to be his issue in the NBA. But I was really happy to see LeBron bring his son in, because I thought that was cool. I like fathers creating opportunities for their kids. I think that was the coolest thing. But then I said, yeah, but don't forget that LeBron also has a Black job. He just has a high paying Black job. And let me explain what I mean by that. I said, okay, so everybody talks about LeBron engaging in nepotism by bringing his son onto the Lakers, right? I said, but do you think that the team, if you look in the Lakers front office, you will find that there are many, many people in the front office who are related to each other at the Lakers, from what I understand. I think they had a previous owner. I heard he died. I thought he was still alive because I don't keep up with that stuff like that. But Dr. Jerry Buss, and I think his daughter Jeannie Buss or something is the owner, one of the owners of the Lakers, or the owner or something. And then I think that there's some other people from their family that work in the front office. And I want to ask y'all a simple question. Um, could LeBron have drafted his son without asking permission from the owners of the team? Yes or no? But if LeBron had just wanted to just do it on his own without talking to the owners, could he have done it? No. He got his son a job because he put in a good word with the boss. And the boss said, well, you've been a good loyal employee and we like you. You've been a good boy. I'm kidding, I'm being silly. You've been good. So we're gonna bring in your son just out of respect for you. And LeBron's a great guy. I mean, LeBron's a billionaire. He's a model citizen. I love LeBron James. But here's a little contrast I got to point out. When Jerry Buss decided he wanted to bring in his daughter, did he have to ask for LeBron's permission? What do you think? Do you think he had to ask anybody's permission? If you're the owner of the Lakers and you want to engage in the very same nepotism that LeBron James did, do you have to ask anybody? No, he'd not care. And I think sometimes we forget that distinction because I still remember when the Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones was caught in the photo from the 1950s where apparently he was with a group of white guys that were blocking the Little Rock Nine from coming into the school. Y'all remember that? And everybody was like it happened at the same time that Kyrie Irving was being mistreated because he retweeted something that was offensive to the Jewish community. Y'all remember that? And there were a lot of people that were like, well, y'all need to give the same smoke to Jerry Jones that you gave to Kyrie Irving, and it's not fair that he's gonna get that Kyrie gets suspended and mistreated, and Jerry nobody does anything to Jerry Jones, and I said, well, you don't know the difference. Do you know the difference between the owner and the employee? Like, do you know the difference? I'm not saying that Jerry didn't deserve a penalty for his behavior for sure, but I was like, but Jerry owns the team. He's a billionaire. He's not a basketball player. He doesn't spend any time working on his jumper in the gym. He doesn't have to do that. The Kyrie though, Kyrie's an amazing player. He can dribble the basketball like nobody's business. He's a great player. He can shoot from anywhere. Jerry Jones probably shoots air balls, and he's the highest paid player on the team. So what you got to really understand is that your ancestors before integration, your ancestors had it right. They had small businesses, but those small businesses would, in my view, they would have grown into big businesses. They owned professional sports leagues. There used to be something called the Golden Glory Sweepstakes that was kind of basically the black version of NASCAR or whatever Formula One is. That's what it was for black people. And we had our own superstars, and they had fans and bit thousands of businesses that would set up shop whenever they had a race, and people come from all over the country to watch the Golden Glory Sweepstakes. And we let all that go because we wanted the black job. We traded in the black business for the black job. I don't want to trade in black businesses for black jobs. I'm not saying black jobs don't matter, but I would rather have the black businesses because then we get to choose what job we want. We don't just get the black jobs. We can also be in the owner's box when we choose to do that. So don't put limitations on yourself. Give yourself options. Embrace financial intelligence. You already have. I just want to remind you that you're doing the right thing. Make sure the kids get it. Invest for them long term. Blackwealthmasterplan.com. Blackwealthmasterplan.com is where you can get the free $5 a day plan if you haven't been introduced to that. So I encourage you to go take a look. Now I'm going to go, guys. I got to get out of here in a minute, but a couple things I want to mention. Number one, we'll be back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. We do this every single morning, 7 days a week. Financial consciousness training, where we do economic elevation with each other and just kind of have conversations about economics. I got this from my father. My father was more of a conversational teacher, and I think you could teach just as well by talking about stuff as you can with charts and graphs and slides. But if you want to join and you want to come into the private Zoom, just text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Also, a lot of you were asking about learning like the basics of stock options. So I mentioned to you all that as a companion to Money in the Morning, I was creating something called Money in a Minute. And what I did was I wanted to solve the problem of time for you. So basically, what Money in a Minute is designed to do is to give you bite-sized lessons on some financial topic that you want to get better in that you can receive on your phone via text message. Just, and just go through it in 90 seconds and be done for the day. So if you want to join Money in a Minute, then all you have to do is make sure you're on the text list. And the first one's going to be stock options. So basically the fundamentals of stock options is the first Money in a Minute class. This came from you guys. I asked you all what would you like for me to do. So stock options was your top pick. So the first one will be stock options. The lifetime access fee for the material is $2.99, but for the next couple days, we'll drop that price for the early adopters to just $99. So you guys that want to jump in first, it'll be $99 for the next 2 days. You will get a text link to join. So just make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to 87948. And also tomorrow I'll bring the link. I just don't have it with me. But also you should get a text sometime today with the link, and you can join, and then you'll get the message each day. and you go through all the material and you'll know the basics of stock options by the time you're done. All right. So I'm gonna get out of here, guys. God bless you. And thank you guys for hanging out with me. And I will see you all tomorrow morning. Take care now. Bye bye.
Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I wanted to come in and say hi to everybody. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I wanted to come in and talk about this term black jobs. I heard Donald Trump mention black jobs the other day during the debate, and I've seen a lot of reactions to that term. I didn't know exactly what he meant by black jobs. I thought it was kind of a strange way to describe an economic situation. And I thought that as a person who studied finance for a while, that I would jump in on this discussion. In case you don't know my background, my doctorate's in finance. I taught at Syracuse University for 13 years on the finance faculty. So money and economic issues in the Black community is my number one concern. Now, before I get started, though, could you guys give me a quick yes in the chat if you can hear me? Let me know really quickly if you can hear me. Give me a quick yes. Shout out the city you're from. Just let me know that I'm coming through okay. I'm in a hotel, and the hotel Wi-Fi is usually pretty crappy. And I'm also being a dance dad this weekend, so it's kind of kept me from being able to connect with you guys the way that I want to. I know that you guys know every single morning we do Money in the Morning, where we teach the art of economic elevation. And it's a free class for anybody, and there are thousands of you have signed up. And I want thousands more of you to just know that there is a finance professor out here that's willing to talk to you every single day, that wants you to be the best you can be economically. So when Trump uses the term black jobs, y'all know I'm on the job. I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and provide some perspective. So I want to say hi really quickly to Yoshika, and I see Coach Bettis. Good to see you, brother. It makes you think about Jerome Bettis, the great football player. Keith Patillo from the Patillo family. I know the Patillo family. And let me tell you, that is Black excellence just in progress, in motion. I love when I see families that are on top of their game. So what's up? And also, what's up, Rodney from St. Louis, and Gino? Good to see everybody. Heather Elliott from Raleigh, North Carolina. Good to see you. All right, so let me hop in. How many of you, give me a yes or no if you saw Trump's debate? How many of you watched the debate the other day where Trump and Biden went up there, and it kind of became just, kind of a shit show, kind of what you expect. You got a couple of pretty immature guys up there. One guy looks a little bit too old to be president. The other guy is a little too arrogant to be president. I think Trump could be a textbook narcissist. I believe that's why he got along so well with Kanye West. I've told you all about the time Kanye called me, and we talked for about 10 hours over a 4-day period. And I was trying to sort of get through to him, and it was very, very difficult because he kind of lives in his own little world. And it became so frustrating that my wife just said, I don't know if this is good for you, your stress levels. And I tell you, it's not fun. It's not fun to talk to people who just are out of touch. And I'm gonna tell you, Donald Trump is not. I've never thought of him as a good person. He's not a. If you believe he's unethical, then you're probably right. Anybody who's been in the boxing industry, hung out with Russian gangsters, and done business with people like Don King and Al Sharpton his whole career, you know that there's something going on there, something that's not on the up and up. But I want to say this clearly though too. I don't blame you for whoever you want to vote for. I want to make that clear too. Because I have big issues with Biden. If you remember, Biden incarcerated more Black men than any president in American history, other than the ones during slavery. I don't even know if there were slave presidents that sent more Black men to prison than Biden did. He called y'all super predators. There are men and women in prison right now, people in prison right now today that were locked up in the 90s under Biden's 3 strikes laws. And y'all want to walk around here tap dancing, acting like it's okay. No, it ain't okay. I don't get that. I don't get the low self-esteem or the fear where we have so much fear that we'll just let people just scare us into voting for whoever. I don't do that. That's just not what I believe in. But you could do what you want to do. If you want to pick the lesser of two evils, I'm not going to knock you for that. I'm just not a fan of that. But anyway, guys, so I don't have a ton of time. My wife and I are going to be leaving pretty soon, but I wanted to kind of talk about this whole black jobs thing. All right, so so let's kind of break this down real quick. When I heard the term, I didn't think much of it at the time, but then I saw the internet kind of reacted to it. And as you know, Black unemployment has been a trigger topic, an important discussion talking point for many, many years. During the Obama administration, Black unemployment was something that was discussed almost every single week. At that time, I was talking a lot about Black unemployment also, because if you recall, Obama said something back a long time ago about the rising tide will lift all boats, which is basically kind of like this false integrationist narrative that says that if we help everybody, if we help white people, then that's going to naturally help black people too. And the Democratic Party's kind of run with that. I think Obama set the precedent for them to say, "Hey, we're doing these things for all these other people," and given that black people fit in these categories with these other people, they're going to be helped too. Like, so when Biden brought up black economics, he said, we're passing laws to help mothers with childcare costs, and there are many black mothers. Therefore, black people are benefiting from what we did for mothers, and that's a lazy way to address the racial wealth gap. That is a racist way to address the racial wealth gap, and let me explain why. What you're basically doing is you're saying, hey, we're not going to do anything specific to help the black community. We're going to do things for everybody and then talk about how black people benefit too, right? Like, it's not like somebody giving you a ride. If I say I need a ride to a specific location, and then I say, well, we're going out west anyway, so why don't you pick a different location and we'll give you a ride there? I'm not gonna give you a ride specifically because you need a ride or specifically to the place you want to go. I'm going to just take you where I was already gonna go and then take credit for giving you a ride in addition to everybody else. That's very different from me saying, I'm going to specifically give you a ride to specifically go where you want to go. And this is what black people are dealing with. You specifically were targeted for an unbelievable amount of racism for 200 and something years. More than that, actually, 400 years. You were specifically targeted because of the color of your skin. They specifically robbed you of your economics. They specifically enslaved you. They weren't enslaving single moms. They weren't enslaving gay people. They were enslaving black people. We know these things. So they were specifically targeting you for all this racial abuse you've experienced. So you should be given a specific remedy. And the Democrats want to avoid the specific remedies. And that's the problem that you have on the Democrat side. Now, because I've got, I hope my wife will let me have 10 minutes to do this conversation, because I want to dig into this black jobs thing a little bit. And as I move on, do me a favor. Could you please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And just as an FYI, I have a new book out. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. Simple rules that if any family follows these rules, they will have a massive amount of generational wealth in less than 10 to 20 years. So if you want to take a look at that book, just feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. And also, my wife is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work, Dr. Alicia Watkins. And she also has workbooks on things like financial anxiety and dealing with financial trauma and ways that you can overcome. These are called solutions. I know we're not used to solutions, but that's what we talk about in the Black Business School. So feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. All right. So here's the deal. So Trump uses this term black jobs. And everyone kind of, gets in a tizzy about it. And again, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. And I thought about this term. I said, what does that mean? What the hell is a black job? I don't know what that means. I felt the way a lot of people felt. I had to meditate on it. I had to sit back and literally look into the universe and talk to God and say, what the hell? What's a black job? Is it a job that is black? Is it a job that's just for black people? Is it a job that's occupied by a black person? And so I thought about it. And so here are my interpretations of the term black jobs. First off, a term's definition can change based on who's actually saying it. That's the first thing. It's based on perspective. As you guys know, when you come to financial consciousness training every morning, I talk to you all about perspective and also just kind of being able to empathize and see the world from different points of view. Okay. And so here's the deal. The term black jobs does not mean the same to everybody. The definition changes based on who's saying it. It also changes based on the perspective of the individual who is saying it. So let me break that down further. So it's almost like the N word, right? Like I hear a lot of people explaining that when a black person says the N word, it's different from when a white person says the N word. But when a white person says the N word, that might be different from when a white racist white person says the N word. And even when a black person says the N word, that's different from an angry black person saying the N word. Let me know if you're following this. Right? If I say, "What's up, my nigga?" That's different from me saying, "Get out of my face, nigga." Right? That's two different. The same guy, same race, it just means different things. If a white guy says it, you got the wiggers, the wiggers, the white guys who think they black. If they say the N word, they're trying to be cool. They're trying to fit in. They're quoting words from their favorite rap songs. But if a hillbilly from the South says the word "igger," if they say it, then you know that might mean that they're really trying to say something negative about black people. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about, because I'm from the South, so I kind of hear them country accents. So if you hear a racist person, if you hear a country music singer use the word, it's gonna have a different interpretation. You know what I mean? Y'all get what I'm saying? Y'all let me know if you get what I'm saying right there about that. Okay. All right. So let's get back to it. Okay, so black jobs, and I'm saying this as an economist who cares deeply about black jobs. It means different things from different people based on different interpretations, different situations. Okay, so when Donald Trump says black jobs, I can't tell you exactly what that means. I cannot go into that man's mind. What I am going to guess is that there are a couple ways to look at it. The worst interpretation of the term black jobs could be this. It could be that, there are certain jobs in society that are typically occupied by black people that most other people do not take, right? Just like there might be immigrant jobs or rich white people jobs, right? If you think about the job, if someone is wealthy and white and they say, my son got an internship this summer, okay, this is a rich white people job. So that's going to be maybe they're working at Goldman Sachs, or they're doing something with some exclusive bank and working with wealthy clients or whatever, right? Whereas when I was in high school, the type of jobs I had were like restaurant jobs, and also on top of that, the black men did not get the nice jobs like the white girls. The white girls would get to work out front. They would get to work the cash register and all that stuff. They didn't trust me with the money. They had me in the back washing dishes. That was my version of my black job. So there is a belief that there are certain jobs that black people tend to acquire or tend to be allowed to take that other people don't take. And you guys know, if you've been following this platform for even 30 seconds, you'll know that I've explained that part of the reason that you get locked into so-called black jobs is because you fell for this fairy tale of a myth called integration. You fell for this false belief that by selling your black-owned businesses, giving up all of your banks, giving up your insurance companies, giving up your institutions, giving up black-owned schools, giving up black-owned bus companies, whatever the case may be, you believe that by giving up all your businesses and going to work for institutions owned by your oppressor, that somehow that would lead you to have a better life. Tell me if I'm lying. Tell me if I'm lying. All these Negroes sitting there complaining about how racist the NFL is, or how the NBA hired a white boy to coach the Lakers when there are qualified black men like Sam Cassell who could have taken the job. They're in the same tradition of the poor people who forget that we used to own the Negro leagues. We used to have a professional sports league. We used to own all of that. But when you don't own the house, you don't get to pick the color of the bedroom. When it ain't your house, you don't make the rules in another man's house. That is a simple rule of the universe that we forgot because somehow they socially engineered us to be a pack of punks. They socially engineered us to be weak and scared and submissive, and I'm not part of that clique. So in this society, if you want to know, are there black jobs versus white jobs? Hell yeah, there are. Because you burned down your own house so you could become roommates with massa. That's what you did. When you got all caught up in the whole civil rights, we shall overcome. And we celebrated the idea of a black man getting his head bashed in so that he could just have the privilege of spending his money at a white-owned business. What the hell is it? We didn't define it for what it was. We didn't call it for what it was. A mental illness. It is an absolute mental illness when I'm going to let another man beat me to within an inch of my life just so I can have an opportunity to give him my money. That ain't customer service, people. That's not customer service. So what I'm saying to you is that in this economy, you're right. There are black jobs. There are jobs that that black people tend to get that white people that white people don't want. If I go to Google and if I'm a black man and I want to go to Google and become an engineer, they're like, no, sorry, sir. They're not gonna say it. They're just gonna show you this. So they're gonna say, no, sir, that's not a black job. But if you came in and you want to rap at our annual Christmas party, oh, that's a black job. You know, I bet you if you go to Google and you have a meeting of all their senior engineers, I bet you there might only be one black guy in the room. Out of 300, there'll be one black guy and a bunch of white people, Asians, and Indians. Tell me if I am lying. Tell me if I'm lying. So senior engineer at Google, unfortunately, is not typically a black job. That's just the reality. But rapper, basketball player, stripper, those could be black jobs. You look at hip hop, you look at what they did to hip hop, how they got now the most popular female hip hop artists in the world, Lotto, Megan the Stallion, the other one, I can't remember all of them, but Ice Spice, whoever, they're all pretty much strippers. They're just strippers who know how to rap. So basically, that's a black job. Taylor Swift ain't twerking when she goes. Taylor Swift can make $1 billion without shaking her ass one time. Not at least not in a way that's overly sexual. She doesn't have to do all that. She just gets to sing. That's a white privilege. She's got a white job. Megan the Stallion has a black job. If Taylor Swift tried to do what Megan the Stallion does, not only could she not do it, but she would not be accepted. If Megan the Stallion decided she wanted to be the next Taylor Swift, they would say, no, Negro, sorry, that's not a black job. So there are in a racist society, which America is, in so-called fake in the space of false integration, you have black jobs and you do have white jobs. That's the reality. Now, whether or not Trump was referring to this when he spoke, I have no idea. I can't get in that man's head. He's a little weird. I don't know what he's thinking. But that's what I hear when I hear the term black jobs. Now, let's move on to another interpretation. Before I do that, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And I want to remind you guys, if you want to join us for our morning, we do Money in the Morning financial consciousness training. It's a class that's 100% free. It's 7 days a week. Every morning, it's at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you want to join us for free, text the word morning to the number 87948. Just text morning to 87948. Or you can also go to drboyceelevate.com if you live in another country. I could not make it this morning, guys. I apologize. My daughter is in the big dance. She's at the Dance Nationals. And on Saturday, they do the big showdown. And so she had 2 dance routines this morning. One of them was precisely at the time of our class. So that's why I had to send you guys a text to let you guys know I couldn't make it. But y'all know that if on any other day, I'm going to be right there with you. Because I think that economic elevation is critical for us to understand how we're being screwed economically. Economic elevation is critical for us to understand why white people have all the wealth and we don't. Economic elevation is critical for us to understand why black wealth continues to go down as white wealth is going up. Think about it. You work harder than everybody else. A lot of y'all are going to school. A lot of y'all are doing all the right things. You're going to work. You're not breaking the law. You're doing everything right, but yet your wealth is going down. How in the hell is that happening? How's that happening? Well, I'm going to dare jump in and say, I'm going to put on my finance professor hat and say that it's happening because our economic consciousness is not very high. They are literally they're pickpocketing you. Like when I was in Paris one time, these little white girls came up to me, 3 of them, and they were talking to me about this petition. And they were trying to get me to look at this petition. They were like, we're trying to do a petition for the blah, 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 blah. And as the girl's talking to me, and she's telling me about this petition, another lady comes up, and another lady's like, she starts yelling and screaming in French. She's like, I don't know, I don't know if I failed French class, but it's like, avec moi, ce soir. Maybe that wasn't what she was saying, but she was yelling at the other girls. I did not understand why she was yelling at them. She was screaming and hollering, and the girls started yelling back, and it became like this big old fight. It was like French white women fighting around me, and I was just standing there, right? So let me tell you what was going on. So the lady then explained to me why she was yelling. She said, while they had your attention, they were pickpocketing you. I said, they were? I said, they can't do that to me. Dude, I'm from the hood. What you talking about? You ain't no white woman gonna pickpocket me. Not me, right? So literally that's what was going on. So there's a point to this, I promise you. So here's the point. Sometimes There are people who want to extract things from you, who will distract you. They will steal your consciousness. They will get you to be conscious of one thing and be unconscious about another thing. And all the while, they'll be pickpocketing you. So my argument, and I hope that you'll hear this, let me know if you're getting what I'm saying, is that Black wealth is being pickpocketed from our people, from our community, because our economic consciousness is not where it needs to be. So when somebody says the term Black jobs, and all we can do is sit there and get mad because we don't understand what a Black job is, or we think it's racist to say Black jobs, I really think that you want to go deeper than that. That's my point. I really think you want to go deeper than just, oh man, because they said Black jobs. Because seriously, if you're caught up in the Democrat Republican nonsense, that means that if you're a Democrat, you're only mad about the term Black jobs because Trump said it. You wouldn't be mad if Biden had said it, because Lord knows Biden was mumbling a whole bunch of other shit up there because that man is too old to be president, and you know it. Right. And if Biden has said Black jobs, the Democrats wouldn't be mad. And the Republicans would be the ones saying, oh, see, they're racist. They said the term Black jobs. Right. So get away from the Democrat Republican stuff, because that's all silly. So let me kind of give you another interpretation of the term Black jobs. So that first interpretation could be that there are certain jobs that are for Black people and other jobs that are not for people who are not Black. Like I mentioned, like me being a dishwasher, when I worked at the Hungry Pelican restaurant when I was 14 years old, that was a Black job. That was the kind of job the Black guys got. I didn't get to be a host to greet the customers. I didn't get to run the cash register because that was not a Black job. Another interpretation of the Black job term could be jobs that are just possessed by Black people. So if I say Black jobs, and my goal is not to be racist toward my own people, that will make me a weirdo. If I say the term Black jobs, what I would be referring to is all the jobs in our society that are controlled by Black people right now. So being a bus driver could be a Black job if a Black man has that job. Being a surgeon could be a Black job if a Black woman has that job. Being a nurse could be a Black job if a Black man has that job. Being a hostess at a restaurant can be a Black job, right? So any job owned or possessed by a Black person, because you don't own your job, by the way, your boss owns your job. Let's make sure you're clear about that. You're renting your job, or you're renting yourself to the job, however you want to look at it, but that's not yours, right? So when you die at your desk because they worked you into an early grave, they're going to replace you within a week and forget that you were ever there. So just make sure you understand that you don't own the job. You can't pass the job to your children. The best thing you can do for your children is put in a good word for the child and hopefully get the boss to draft your child, just like Bronny James got drafted by the Lakers because their father had put in years of good service for the company. All right. So whereas the owner of the Lakers doesn't have to ask anybody's permission if he wants to draft his son, when the owner of the Lakers drafted his children to come and work for the organization, he didn't have to ask for shit. He didn't have to go ask for anybody's permission. He didn't have to hope that the boss decided that he did a good enough job, that he's going to put in a good word for him and he's going to give him an opportunity. No, the owner of the Lakers, Jerry Buss, I believe that was his name. The owner of the Lakers, when he wanted to hire his children, he said, I'm hiring my children, right? So this is why, if you want to know why I'm a big advocate for Black-owned businesses, because I need you to know the difference between having a good business and having a good job. A lot of us will put a ton of energy into getting a good job and keeping a good job, but we won't put the same amount of energy into starting a good business and building a good business and keeping a good business, because that requires too much work. That's the reality. That's what you're dealing with. So when you talk about Black jobs, to me, a Black job is a job that is controlled by a Black person. Now, the immigration point, I think, is worth hearing. Dr. Claude Anderson, the author of Powernomics, the greatest economic thinker of the 20th century and beyond. He's the Black Marcus Garvey of today, or he's the new Marcus Garvey. Marcus was Black too, but he's the modern day Marcus Garvey. He says repeatedly in his books, and he wrote this in the early 90s, he said that immigration policy has been specifically designed to dilute the economic and political power of the Black community. That there was a time where your numbers were bigger, your economic share of the pie was bigger, your opportunities were bigger, and that is deliberately being undermined because they're bringing so many people in from other countries. And the other thing about immigration policy, and if you come to our Powernomics training, which we do for free in the Black Business School every Wednesday night, you would know that immigration policy was specifically designed based on skin color. So what they said was, they said, look, if you are immigrating from England, we'll take as many British folks as you want to bring. If you're immigrating from Spain, we'll take a ton of those. If you're coming in even from Mexico and South America, we'll take a ton of those. But if you're coming from Africa, wait, what? Nah, we don't want no Africans. Y'all need to stay over there, right? So because they said we don't need more black people, we need fewer black people. We don't need the Kool-Aid to be stronger. We need to water it down. You understand? They said we need the black community to be smaller, not bigger, because we're already afraid of these people. They're already doing major damage just by having 13% of the population. We don't want them to have 30% like they used to, because that's downright scary. So Dr. Claude Anderson has brought up the point that many of the black jobs, there go, I'm going to use that term, call me what you want for saying the term black jobs, but you don't know what I'm talking about, jobs that are controlled by black people. He specifically said that these jobs, these opportunities are getting scooped up by people from other countries because they really don't want to deal with you that much. They really don't. If you don't believe me, let me ask y'all a question. Give me a yes or no if you've ever seen this. Has anybody ever gone into like certain restaurants and noticed that damn near half the damn staff is speaking Spanish? If you go to places like California and other places, you'll know what I'm talking about. Has anybody ever noticed in your neighborhoods, like I see this in Chicago, construction sites where 40 years ago there would have been a bunch of black guys working on the construction project, but there are no black men over there. There are no black people over there. Has anybody noticed that? I know I see it. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. So when you talk about that immigration issue, and you tell me somehow that having an endless flood of people from other countries coming into the U.S. is good for the black community, I'll tell you a damn lie. Y'all should know in Chicago right now, shout out to the black folks in Chicago. Black people in Chicago have been protesting the black mayor like crazy. They have been saying, you are bringing all these people in, giving them resources you never gave us. We've been begging for resources and we can't get a nickel, but you're going to pump millions of dollars into people who just got here. And then you're putting them in our neighborhoods. They're taking up space in our community and getting stuff that we've never got. So that to me is a point worth considering. I don't care who says it. I wish Biden and Trump would say it. But perhaps the reason Trump is gaining leeway in the black community is because he is talking about it. I don't know if he's going to do anything about it, though. I don't know if I don't really think he's going to be an asset to the community. I think that if you want real power, you're going to have to fight for it. If you want real power, you're going to have to plan for it. If you want real power, you're going to have to build for it. If you don't build for it, fight for it, and plan for it, then you will not have it. No politician is going to give that to you. No Democrat's going to deliver that for you. No Republican is going to deliver that for you. Even the independent candidates ain't really going to deliver that for you. You have to deliver that for you. So this is my position. So when you talk about the term black jobs, I would say there's two major ways to look at that. There are jobs that typically black people have more access to in our society. It's a racist society. So there are certain jobs that they don't want you to have. There's certain places they don't want you necessarily being the boss. This is why black-owned businesses are so important, because in my company, every job is a black job. In my organization, I have the ability to engage in whatever amount of nepotism or whatever you want to call it that I want, and I don't have to ask my boss's permission. I don't make as much money as LeBron James, but if I want my child to play on the same team as me, I don't have to go ask Jerry Buss if it's okay for me to do right by my child. I don't have to do that. And so to me, I think that one thing that's missing from our community that we have to really consider is pride. Pride is deeper than money. You can have $0 in your pocket and have $1 billion worth of pride. Pride might mean that you say, you know what, even if I can't build $1 billion company like you, I'm going to build my little $50,000 company and I'm going to make plans to grow it into $1 billion within a generation or two. Your pride means that even if you tell me that the only options I have on this earth are Democrat or Republican, that I can either be treated like a slave or be treated like a super slave, I'm not taking either one of those options because I'm too proud to allow you to get me to live on my knees. Pride means that we embrace the things that we need to embrace in order to build the community that we want. It means that we embrace the educational excellence necessary and the skills appropriate for the building of a community, so that when somebody defines what is a black job and what is a white job, It won't be me hoping that white people agree with me in my interpretation of what a black job should be. That my child will not have to just say, well, mama, I can't get a certain kind of job because, the white man ain't hiring and the white man won't decide that he want to give me an opportunity. See, your children need to be taught to create opportunities. What makes their kids better than your kids? What makes their people better than your people? It's attitude. It is belief in yourself. It is your commitment to developing infrastructure that's going to allow you to be able to shape the narrative that you want your life to have. I get deeply offended by this whole idea that everything that we want to do got to come down to whether or not we can convince white folks that it's the right move to make. I don't want to go. I get, there's a whole industry of these anti-racist speakers that literally all they do is, I'm not making fun of you. If you're in this category, please don't think I'm making fun of you. Keep doing your job. I hope you make $1 billion at it. But one thing they do is they do a job. This is a black job. Here you go. Here's a black job for you. Their black job is to go to all these white universities and talk to crowds full of white people and convince white people to stop being so mean to black people. That's their job. That's a black job. White people can rarely get that job. But then again, if they do take the job, they tend to get treated like superstars. Like they got Tim, what's his face? I forgot his name, Tim something. And he goes around and he talks about how terrible white people are and how black people are always perfect and whatever. And they love him for it. Well, that's not a black job I want. My job as a black man is not to convince a white man to like me. My job as a black man is not to convince white people that I'm worthy. My job as a black man is not to convince white folks that I am safe and decent. I know I'm safe and decent. My wife and daughters and my son, they know I'm safe and decent. Y'all know I'm safe and decent. My job is not to go and convince people who have been oppressing me or trying to oppress my people for a very long time. My job is not to convince my oppressor of anything. And one of the things that I think you have to understand is that you will box yourself into a trap if you believe that the only way for black people to have advancement in this society is to convince white people to allow us to have it. If you believe that the only path to liberation for black people is by getting white folks to be nicer to you, then I feel sorry for you because you're never going to go as far as you want to go. You'll only go as far as they want you to go. And let me tell you like this, I'm not going to just go as far as they want me to go. I'm going to go as far as I decide I'm going to go. Also, I'm going to go as far as God wants me to go. So just like I spoke to you guys the other day, we talked in class and I talked about knowing the difference between your plan, God's plan, and Massa's plan. See, Massa had a plan for you. Massa said, I'm going to give you the black job. Massa said, I'm going to give you the black experience. Massa said, I'm going to give you the black culture. And then you're going to spend your whole life muddled, swimming in the mud, living in the dirt, starting from the bottom. Now you're here. Hoping and praying, stressing out, begging for opportunities, sad when they don't come, like crying and over microaggressions and mistreatment, and constantly feeling bad about life because somebody else is deciding whether you even have the right to be happy. Fuck that. Nobody has the right to decide if you're going to be happy and fulfilled. But that's Massa's plan. I'm going to keep these Negroes in a fishbowl and make sure that I decide what options they're going to have. I decide if they get to have a good day or a bad day. I decide if they're going to be successful or not successful. I decide if they're going to have high self-esteem or low self-esteem. That is nonsense. Who told you that that's the right way to live? That's Massa's plan. And then if you're strong and you have some consciousness about you, you'll say, no, I'm not living by Massa's plan. I'm going to go with my plan. My plan is I'm going to decide what a black job is versus a white job. My plan is I'm going to be successful whether you like it or not. My plan is I'm going to get educated. My plan is I'm going to take care of my family. My plan is I'm going to be economically intelligent. My plan is that I'm going to prepare for the future. My plan is I'm going to build generational wealth. And I think that's a great step forward. Congratulations to all of you who have moved past Massa's plan to get to your plan. But I'm going to take you to another level of consciousness. And I'm going to do this real quick because my wife is waiting for me and she's being very patient. I appreciate that. Shout out to the black women who are patient with crazy black men like me. Without y'all, we can't be nothing. But there's another level to that. And I learned this through time. Remember, I'm 53 years young, so I'm not a kid no more, but I ain't Joe Biden age, but I'm not a kid. So I've learned a few things. So the next level I realize is that even my plan is not adequate. My plan is not the plan. The plan is God's plan. And what I learned through life as I fought my battles with racism, and I think I did okay. Wasn't no white man gonna hold me down. Wasn't nobody gonna make me feel oppressed. I was raised by Larry Watkins. He was a Vietnam veteran and who's killed people. He did not raise me to be no punk. So I ain't scared of racist white folks. I ain't scared of ignorant black folks. Never been scared. Never scared. But here's the thing. So even as I won these battles, I found out that there was a plan that was even bigger for me. I realized that my racial trauma, my experience as a black man growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, like Muhammad Ali, we both grew up in Louisville. My experience led me to even not see what my potential was. Even I didn't know what I was capable of accomplishing. So what happened was I realized, I said, oh my God sees a bigger vision for me than I even see for myself. And so as that vision started to unfold, I started to realize that as much as I know, and I have a lot of education, I went to school a long time. To get a PhD, you got to take damn near every single class at the university. And I got my PhD over 20 something years ago, and I probably know 3 times more than I did when I finished my doctorate. So I've learned a lot. But the biggest thing I learned over time is how little I actually know. The biggest thing I learned over time was that connecting to God and really understanding what the potential was for all of us and knowing what God's plan is, or even trying to understand it or accept it as it unfolds, that's really the key to power. Because the power of God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, that's an infinite kind of power that man cannot control. Man cannot stop that. And I'm not saying this to be religious with you. I don't even go to church, to be honest with you, but I'm very spiritual. So I think that the strength of black people is that we are very spiritual people. And to me, when you allow your spirit to be deflated because you are scared of a racist, you are scared of some ignorant people that don't want to see you fly. To me, that is disconnecting from God. That is you disconnecting from what your purpose is. The greatest strength you have is that you are spiritual, and sometimes you got to operate on faith. That means, what does that mean? Let's translate that to real life. That means that you got to build that business sometimes on faith. Dude, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna learn as much as I can. If I may not succeed, but I'm gonna still go hard. Sometimes you got to move forward based on intuition. You got to say, you know what? I know you're telling me that if this guy gets elected and I don't vote for this person, that bad things are going to happen. But you know what? My instincts are telling me that this is still not the right move for me. So I'm going to still move on faith. Maybe being spiritually strong also means the ability to really try to see a vision for yourself and your family that is not limited by what is you see around you. It's not limited by your past. It's not limited by your condition. It's not limited by what people say you can and cannot do. There is no limit. When you really connect to that God level power, I don't think you can be stopped. So if you want to know who you're listening to every morning when I wake up, I would say you're probably listening to a man of God, but not so much in a way that says I'm perfect, not in a way that says I'm the guy you're going to see sitting next to you in church, but you're really talking to a man who literally every day when I get up and talk to you, I open my mouth and I say, let me see what God tells me to say. And I'm just going to say it, and I'm going to say it without fear. I'm moving forward without fear. And I think that if we move forward without fear, you won't fall for all this Democrat Republican nonsense. You won't get caught up in what a white man has to say about you. You won't feel like your whole destiny and all your potential is put in some sort of bottle that was shaped by your oppressor. You'll know that the sky is the limit for anybody who truly moves forward on faith. So that's what I believe. That's what I think. So when you talk to me about black jobs versus white jobs, there's different ways to talk about that term and what that might mean. And certainly black economics is critically important. But I just encourage you, let go of the low self-esteem, low vibrational thinking. Let go of this whole idea of us operating in fear and operating under the expectation that we're going to be oppressed. Let's move forward by expecting the best of ourselves. Again, every time you get mad because a white man tells you you got to take the black job over the white job, the question is you got to say, well, who's creating the damn jobs? Who's the job creator? I don't want to be the job seeker. I want to be the job creator. I don't want my children limited in a world where they believe, well, there's black jobs and there's white jobs. And Mr. Charlie going to decide who gets the black job and who gets the white job because he a Democrat and we the Democrats and the Republicans. I don't want my kids living in that world. I want my kids knowing that any job is a black job if they want it to be. I don't want my kids thinking like, oh gosh, I hope somebody helps give me an opportunity. I want my kids to sitting back like Jerry Buss at the Lakers saying, I wonder if I'm going to give somebody an opportunity today. So this is a mindset. This does not have to do with how much wealth you have. It does not have to do with how long you went to school. Sometimes going to school too long can limit your thinking. Sometimes having wealth can make you just into a bigger slave. LeBron James is worth damn near $1 billion. And it's unfortunate that he, as wealthy and powerful as he is, still had to ask Jerry Buss's permission for them to draft his son. And the world I dream of is a world where LeBron owns the team and he drafts his own son and ain't got to ask nobody for nothing. Because remember, Jerry Buss did not have to ask for anybody's permission to bring his children on board. Am I right or am I right? Because from what I understand, he got his whole damn family working up in that front office, and he didn't have to go ask LeBron for nothing. So that's a hierarchy, people. That is so LeBron has the black job, Jerry Buss has the white job. It's just LeBron's black job happens to pay a lot of money. His job is to be 6'8", 240 pounds with a 35-inch vertical. That's the black job. Jerry Buss's job was to sit back and raise a bunch of money and own a team so that he gets to make all the decisions. That's what a black job and a white job looks like. That's all I got to say. I'm getting out of here, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to join us for our financial consciousness training that we do every single morning, it's a private Zoom. You can come in and just get your batteries charged for the day on what your economic plan is going to be. Just text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. The number's on the screen. Text morning to 87948. Also, this podcast is on Spotify. I have other podcasts on Spotify. One is called Dr. Boyce Daily Stock Market, where I give regular updates on the stock market. I let you know stocks that I like, stocks that I'm buying, things like that. And in addition to that, last but not least, I hope you will join us at the All Black National Convention. The All Black National Convention takes place in Chicago, Illinois this year, October 25th through the 27th. And that is where we solve our own problems. We work together with the best Black scientists, engineers, researchers, teachers, scholars, thinkers, medical doctors, attorneys, etc., and we solve our own problems. So if you are into that kind of thing and you want to be in a space where the energy is very, very positive, join us in Chicago. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. Brother Nuri Muhammad is our keynote speaker this year, along with Lamar Tyler, who is the Black millionaire maker. And we also have lots of therapists that are coming, lots of professionals from all different backgrounds, real estate experts, crypto experts, stock market investing experts. Constance Carter, who's a real estate genius, is going to be there. So we're going to have a lot of great people there. So I hope you'll join us. Just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. You can learn more. Have a good day, everybody. And my wife is probably, I got to go apologize to my wife now because I asked her for 10 more minutes and I took like 30 or 40. So let me go make it up to her, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you. Peace.
I'm Gen X, and then there's millennials, and then there's Gen Z. So you got millennials and Gen Z. And there were studies that basically sorted out investors. That was done by Bank of America. And they sorted investors based on whether you were over or under 44 years old. And on these criteria, they were able to identify some differences in terms of how younger folks invest versus, say, people above the age of 45. And I thought that it would be an interesting analysis to kind of think about this in terms of psychology, because all this is psychological. It all comes down to mindset. And as you guys know, in Money in the Morning, we basically are digging into financial psychology and the mindset of investors and what that means. Now, first thing I'm going to say before I reveal this is that it's not as if young people are investing badly, right? They just invest a little bit differently, and I also believe that the cross transfer of information across generations can be beneficial for everybody. Like, I think that younger people can teach older people a few things, and I'll mention that. And then also older people can teach young people some things. And so if you're smart, you'll listen because your grandma knows a couple things. She's seen things that you haven't seen. Your grandfather knows things that you have not experienced yet. And so I know that listening to my grandma, who is the Panther that's behind me, I keep my grandma with me everywhere I go. She's right here. Her name is Felicia, and she's also behind my head. My grandmother, protected me from myself on more than one occasion, because when I was young, I was smart, but sometimes we think we're smarter than we actually are. So I had a little bit of knucklehead in me. I still remember my grandmother when she had bought me some savings bonds, and that was how she knew to invest. She didn't really know anything about the stuff that we talk about. Like, we're far more advanced than previous generations in terms of our economic knowledge, all of us, everyone in here. And she had bought me these savings bonds when I was little, and they all matured. And I got this lump sum of money when I went off to college. And I had this girlfriend at the time, and her car broke down. And I remember I used some of that money to fix my girlfriend's car. And I never forget, my grandmother was so furious, and she wrote a long letter to me. This is back when people used to write letters. She didn't send an email or a text message. She wrote me a letter. That's how you know grandma was pissed. And she wrote me a long letter, and I don't know if she thought that I was out smoking crack or what, but she talked, she really was concerned about what I was doing with my money. And it was that experience that reminds me of why I think personally that as you're building this wealth, as you're making these smart decisions to prepare your family for their strong economic future, getting your kids ready, you're doing the $5 a day plan, or even beyond that, and really preparing a wealth egg or a nest egg for your kids so they can be financially safe. I don't believe in giving all that money over to them when they turn 18. I cannot reemphasize that enough. This is not their wealth. This becomes their wealth when you decide it's their wealth. And this is family wealth. You understand? We are a team. We are a collective. Just like we're gonna give we have cars. Right now we have a couple cars in our garage, and it's a little bit tough because now we got four people in the house that are of driving age, and everybody's got an agenda. Both of the kids have to get to work, and me and my wife have stuff to do. So we're having a car issue, right? So we're trying to decide how to navigate that. Do we buy them a car? And I said, hell no, I don't want to just buy them a car and give them a car. I don't do that. Again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you if you've done that. I'm just saying that that's not where I come from. You earn what you get. That's it. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I just believe that you're better off if you earn what you get. That way you can get the pride of knowing that you did this. And also, I think that spoiling kids just never seemed to work out right. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just it never seemed to really work out when a kid was spoiled, that they would be better off than they would have been if they hadn't been spoiled. I've just not seen that. So my position on it was no. We're not buying anybody a car, but we are going to buy a car. So this is, don't tell the kids. If you meet my kids at the convention or something, don't tell them that this was the master plan. Okay, we got to, like, how the man be making plans for black people and they don't tell you what the plans are. Well, in this house, I'm the man and she's the woman, and so we make these little secret plans. This is the conspiracy theory that we always know there's a conspiracy. Well, in our house, there are lots of conspiracy theories. This is one of them. So if you meet the kids, don't tell them this was the plan. So anyway, here's the plan. The plan was, I told my wife, I said, go out and go to the dealership, find a car that you want to get, whatever, just whatever you want to do. I support it. Um, and so we're gonna have three cars, and then we'll be able to allow the kids to share the third car, the 10-year-old car that we don't want to use as much anymore, but we're not giving that car to anybody. That's still our car. So this, again, this is a mindset. I'm not telling you what to do, but the thinking was, look, this is not your car. This is the family car. But because we bought it, then we have a little more say in what happens with this car. So you're gonna get everything that you need, but you're not going to be able to say, get out of my car, or I'm taking my car. Because for you to say, to have a car that you say is your car, you're going to have to put some skin in the game. You're going to have to make some investments in this process in order for you to say that is my car. Because but again, that's a personal bias, right? Everybody has a bias. But I would say whatever your bias is, however you were raised, or whatever you think is best as the leader of the household, and a lot of you are either parents, or you're going to be parents, or maybe you're grandparents or something. I encourage you to think about the accumulation of any asset, whether it's a vehicle that's declining in financial value, right? Cars are depreciating assets, but they're important assets because you need them to get around. Or you're talking about the stock portfolio. That's family wealth. When you're building this wealth for your kids, that money belongs to primarily you. If you did it, if you're the one who built all this, then that should be yours. That's your empire that you're building. And then also, when you're talking about the transfer of that wealth onto the kids, you have to have discernment in terms of how you do that. Because if you do it wrong, let me just say, if you do it wrong, you're gonna lose it all. If you do it wrong, if you're sloppy, if you just say, oh, well, because you're a certain age and because you're my child, I'm gonna give you everything. that don't work out too well. And people react differently when you give them stuff. Again, that goes back to what I was telling you guys in finance. There's all these research papers written on what they call the moral hazard problem. The moral hazard problem basically says that when you get one of the dimensions of the moral hazard, it's a very complex idea, but one of the dimensions of it is that when you give people stuff, they start acting stupid. When you give people stuff, their behavior changes. I remember when that football player Antonio Brown that played for the Steelers and the Patriots and the Raiders. And I think the poor guy has CTE. That's what I think is really going on because he's the Negro. The Negro is crazy. But anyway, Antonio Brown, he was a great wide receiver. He was very disciplined. He worked really hard. He showed up to practice on time, and so because he was so good, they were going to sign him to this massive contract. And there was somebody who said something that was true, but there's not much you could do about it. But he basically said, when you give him all this money, he's going to act a fool. You're not going to be able to control him anymore. And he was actually right. When Antonio Brown got his money, his behavior no longer made any sense. Now, I personally think that brain damage thing is really big with the football players. So when I see them commit a crazy crime, like there was one guy, Kellen Winslow Jr., I think, who went to prison because he was literally sexually assaulting like old ladies, like 75, 80 years old. That just seems kind of weird. I'm not saying that any type of assault is okay. It's never okay, but it was just weird. It made me think something's got to be going on with his brain. And Aaron Hernandez, who played the same position as Kellen Winslow Jr., who definitely was confirmed to have tremendous amounts of brain damage, was just going to the club and killing people. Like, and it didn't make, and it was weird. They didn't even consider him a suspect because they were like, why would a guy who just won a Super Bowl murder somebody? That doesn't make, but it turned out that he had significant mental illness that came from all those hits to the head. So anyway, with that being said, though, just circling back to moral hazard, people act differently when you give them resources and you give them money. Especially true. That's especially true when you talk about your kids. So when you're talking about how to kind of deal with your children and just sort of what way to sort of distribute the assets, I think it's important to really think it through carefully because if you don't, you're going to lose everything. There's a show I've been watching. Anybody watch the show on Netflix called The Gentleman? Anybody watch it? It's got one of my favorite actors, Giancarlo Esposito, one of the best actors out here. He played Big Brother Almighty back in School Days. I don't know if y'all remember him. Everybody, if you haven't seen School Days, like remember when Biden said, "If you don't vote for me, you ain't black." If you ain't watched School Days, I'm gonna have to check your black card because that movie's a classic. We know it is. But anyway, if you're young, then that's your excuse. So go watch School Days. You'll love it. So anyway, Giancarlo Esposito is in this show called The Gentleman, and it's about this it starts with this guy who inherits this massive estate and all this wealth from his father, who was the duke of something or whatever, and they call them my your grace or my lord and all this other British crap. And anyway, one of the things that happened was the way the story starts is that you had the older brother. The oldest was supposed to inherit the estate, and this had been the tradition in the family for 600 years. And so all this wealth that had been accumulated over half a millennia, 5 to 600 years, was all going to go to the oldest son. And the problem was that the oldest son is an idiot and a drug addict who makes terrible decisions. So the father skipped the oldest son and passed all the wealth down to his second son, who was the one that was the most responsible because he knew his second son wasn't going to mess up the family estate. And so this is what this whole show's about. It's all about money and choices and everything else. And all those things are deeply connected. And so as you're building your empire and preparing what to do with it, and managing risk. We've talked about risk management. I did that whole training with you guys called Stormproof Investing, and we talked about diversification and the use of stock options to protect your portfolio. But the biggest protector in terms of risk is just making good decisions and then making the good decision to put your wealth in the hands of people who are going to make good decisions, who are going to who are skilled at three major things. There are three major skills that make you into a wealthy person. One is the ability to acquire wealth. Two is the ability to preserve wealth. Three is the ability to grow the wealth. So really it's simple. I would almost call it the football player analogy. And let me explain. I like analogies because it helps us understand that I'm telling you nothing new. Everything that we talk about, you already know these things. Well, if you think about it, what makes a great football team? Well, if you have the ability to get the ball, to acquire the ball, which means you got a good defense. Your defense can get fumbles and sacks and interceptions. Two, you can protect the ball. The quarterback does not fumble. They don't make mistakes. And then you can grow your score. You can get the ball down the field because you have a great offense. If you have those three things, do you understand? Tell me if you get this analogy. If you can acquire the ball, protect the ball, and get the ball down the field, then you will win Super Bowls. So to win Super Bowls in your life, in the game of economics, the very competitive game of powernomics that exists all throughout this world, the game of capitalism, then pick up those three skills and you're going to win. And then you only give the ball to people who also have those skills, right? So if I've got a child who does not preserve wealth, then why would I give all my assets to that person who's just going to be a leaky bucket, who's going to lose everything? And this is what that whole show's about. The gentleman. There's so many shows. If you watch, there's so many shows you watch that there are really straight economic lessons. There's so many shows you watch. Every time you watch a show where money is discussed and there's a money problem, or people are doing crazy stuff because they need to get money, that's a financial lesson. There's so many different shows I could point out on Netflix right now where money pops up everywhere in these conversations. And this is where you learn it. This is your training ground. All right, so let me dig into some of this study. This is what I kind of wanted to hit on today. And by the way, if you want to copy my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, or Financial Flashcards for Kids, we're halfway through the summer. It's not too late for you to give them something that's going to last for the rest of their life. You can go to drboycebooks.com, and there's a discount code, book club, the word book club. If you use a code book club, you can get 30% off anything in the store. So it's drboycebooks.com. Also, make sure you get on the text list for Money in the Morning. If you want to join the private Zoom for free, or get a notification. A lot of you just got a notification from me. Just text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. All right. So here are a few things that are going on. Basically, a Bank of America study found that young people under the age of 44 are more likely to choose investments that differ from those that are over the age of 44. People over the age of 44 are more likely to lean on the traditional investments, top three being stocks, real estate, and then emerging markets, right? So stocks, the stock market's number one, then real estate, and then if you want to go further, maybe emerging markets, meaning like third world countries. There are funds you can invest in that will let you benefit from other countries. I made a list for you guys of funds you can invest in to make money in India, Africa. I made a list for Africa. I'll text that out to you guys again if you'd like to see it, or you can email support at theblackbusinessschool.com and they can give you access to that. I don't have it in front of me now. Either way, if that were the case, I'd give it to you now. That's kind of what people do over the age of 44, right? So, and it makes sense. The stock market is the number one wealth builder in America. Those who don't participate in the stock market don't tend to build very much wealth. Also, real estate is very, very powerful. Real estate is a great way to have literally a real asset, something you can actually touch, something that's very tangible. So shout out to everybody who owns real estate. I think real estate's fine. I don't personally enjoy being a landlord. I think I've talked to you guys about that. So I choose to make my money by selling stock options and all that to get my income. But still, real estate is fine. And then also emerging markets are nice because emerging markets can give you that excess return because you're investing in these small countries that may grow very, very quickly. Now, um, here's the thing. The truth though is that younger people, typically every generation, they do something different from what their parents did. And a lot of the decision in terms of what they choose to do is informed by their experience, right? So, a person that's under the age of 45, they've grown up with a lot of technology, so they're very comfortable with technology. Younger people tend to be more comfortable with risk because they have a longer time horizon for investment, but then also They are comfortable with risk because sometimes it's because they haven't gone through certain experiences. My grandmother went through the Great Depression, so she was very, very risk averse, very risk conscious. People like Warren Buffett, they saw the effects of the Great Depression, so they're always thinking about the downside. They're thinking about what could go wrong. Whereas if you're a young person and you've only seen the market boom, you've only seen low interest rate regimes, which is what we had going all the way back to 2010, where you could just go borrow money and amazing things will happen after that, then a person like that is more likely to take on leverage and debt and kind of just gunsling a little bit, right? Because they haven't really gone through. In fact, the last 20 years, 25 years or so, you really haven't seen too many major economic calamities. You did have the decline in 07, 08, which was pretty bad for the real estate market. But for the most part, young people haven't really gone through like some sort of like significant economic hell in terms of the stock market, in terms of watching your portfolio go, just drop 60% right before your eyes. They haven't really experienced a lot of that. So a lot of times that can lead to um, different investment behavior of young people, right? And so here's what they found in the study that young people do when it comes to investing. They said that young people they tend to allocate toward real estate at the top of the list, crypto and private equity. That was what Bank of America mentioned in particular. Real estate, crypto, and private equity, as opposed to stocks being at the top of the list. Private equity might be, in some cases, just, your own business or investing in other people's businesses or some of these websites where you can put money in and they can, like I think Fundrise does that, where you're raising money for startups and stuff like that. And what's actually driving a lot of this is that also younger people tend to have a little less patience when it comes to wealth building. They sort of, especially on social media, where there's a lot of incentive or a lot of what's the word? A lot of flashiness in terms of people showing you how much money they made and how they made it quickly. It can make someone feel stupid for doing things like getting up and going to work every day, or waiting 5 or 10 or 15 years for something great to happen. Why would you wait 15 years when you can make it happen in 15 days? And so the lure of the fast money a lot of times can drive certain investments that are extremely risky. And then also they mentioned that younger people have an interest in various kinds of collectibles like watches and classic cars and stuff like that, or even sneakers. And all that's fine, right? Again, I'm not here to tell you that those things are bad. I think that what is interesting though to me is that you should know that there's something that everybody can learn from each generation, and generally speaking, things like crypto are incredibly risky, probably riskier than people can recognize. And they said that some of the reasons that younger people are more likely to deviate toward things like crypto is a lack of trust, a lack of trust in the government. You hear a lot of people talk online about how the dollar is gonna collapse and the whole economy is gonna go to shit and everybody's gonna lose everything, or the government is manipulating you in this way or that way. And I'm not saying those things aren't true. I'm not gonna say that America, I do, I really completely agree with you that America is a country where there are conspiracy theories. There are people in the elite class that make certain decisions that affect the working class that are unfair. I've mentioned to you a few factors. For example, I think they've completely screwed a lot of people when it comes to student loans. So you have a lot of disillusioned people who say, "Wait a minute, I went into debt to go to college so I can do everything right, and here I got all this debt and I'm stuck and I'm not making the money I expected to make." Like all that's real and all that's by design. We've talked about that. But at the same time, though, I think that if this lack of trust causes you to throw the baby out with the bathwater, then that's not good for you, right? If you are just sort of like for example, if you believe that the stock market is a complete Ponzi scheme and you don't participate, well, then guess what? You're missing out on the chance to make money alongside Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, and the greatest companies on earth. And so really, I think that a balanced approach is more appropriate, where you say, yeah, they're probably doing what's best for themselves. Yeah, the elites are going to be elites. Yeah, they're probably making plans and conspiracies for them to benefit themselves. But that does not mean that I still can't participate in this economy and do well. Also, younger people tend to be more tech savvy. They're more comfortable with technology, which is why things like crypto can be appealing, as opposed to older people who don't trust crypto. I've heard older people talk about crypto like it's just fake money and it's complete garbage. And I think that that's an inappropriate approach, because typically a lot of times the people that will say things like that are people that they know a lot about investing, but they don't know a lot about crypto. You understand? Like, so they'll know a lot about stocks and real estate and business. So that gives them their credibility. But then they won't take the time to really try to understand what's really happening with crypto. Like, what is it? Like, what's really going on here? And I think that that's a little bit problematic and disingenuous. It's almost like somebody who won a Super Bowl who then tells you that tennis is crap, or a pickleball is garbage, right? So if I am a guy who won a Super Bowl, I don't know who's a guy. I'm trying to think. I can't name any Super Bowl winners right now. I don't know. Shannon Sharp. I'm Shannon Sharp, and I won a Super Bowl in football. Um, but and then pickleball comes along, and I say, well, pickleball's a stupid sport, but I know nothing about the sport. If I say pickleball will never take off, nobody likes pickleball, it's dumb. What credibility do I have to really say that? Right? If my credibility is that I won a Super Bowl, well, that's not appropriate credibility. That's not accurate in terms of that's not my area of expertise. Do you understand? So a lot of times people that criticize crypto the most, I've noticed, are people who haven't taken the time to really understand it, participate in it, invest in it. Why would you if you think it's stupid, if you think it's garbage, if you made that assessment from the very beginning? So one of the things I can say that was with crypto, in order for me to critique it, I felt like I needed to understand it. So to understand it, I read a couple books about it and did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people, looked into a lot of stuff. I'm still not an expert on it, but I know a lot more than I did. And if you were to ask me, do I think crypto is garbage? I'd say yes. And if you ask me, do I think crypto is a great investment? I would say yes. And the reason I say that is because not all crypto is created equally, and the future of crypto is very, very vague. Nobody knows what the future of crypto is going to be, because it's heavily dependent on things like regulation. It's dependent on what the economy does. If the economy were to go south, like for example, Sam Bankman-Fried. Anybody know that name? Give me a yes if you remember the name Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. Did anybody else follow the FTX debacle? Let me know if you followed this. This is really important. Okay, so Sam Bankman-Fried became kind of the king of crypto. He was a guy that was really making what I thought were some strong, solid decisions for a while. I don't think he was just a complete loose cannon wrecking ball, or a bad person the whole time. I think he did make a mistake though, and he did break the law. But what Sam Bankman-Fried did was he came along and he kind of positioned himself in the crypto world similar to where JP Morgan was in banking years ago, where he was literally the single guy who was bailing out the entire industry. He was making these big acquisitions of these companies and doing all these things that were really garnering a lot of respect around the world and everything. And it turned out, though, that he was doing it inappropriately and illegally. He was using money that he wasn't supposed to use. He had money that he was supposed to hold, and he used that money to make investments. He borrowed out. He put his hand in the cookie jar. He borrowed money that he shouldn't have been borrowing, and that was clearly illegal and clearly wrong. Um, but let me also give you the other side of that. That's interesting. So if Bankman Fried had done the exact same thing, and it wasn't a crypto winter, he not only would he have gotten away with it, but he would still be hailed as a hero. He would be looked at as this guy who was this financial genius. Um, what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of times timing is huge in terms of when people get caught with, various Ponzi schemes. Bernie Madoff got caught because there was a recession. And when there's a recession and an economic downturn and there's fear throughout the economy, that's when the rubber meets the road. That's when people start reaching out and saying, okay, all that money you've been holding for me? I need that money by tomorrow. And if you don't have the money, like if the money is out there somewhere, if you've got it planted somewhere in an investment where the paper value, the paper loss is extreme, then you're going to pretty much get caught with your pants down. But maybe if they had called you a month later, you would have had the money. Do you understand? Right? So what happens with a Bankman Fried or a Bernie Madoff, and this is again not to excuse their behavior. I think that it was not just criminality, but it was also criminality that was driven by excessive risk taking. It's almost like someone who says, I'm going to take a risk by breaking the law. I'm going to take a risk by using money that I shouldn't be using or making a promise that I may not be able to keep. And I'm hoping that you don't ask me the wrong question at the wrong time. Do you understand? Or maybe somebody who I don't know if your wife has a boyfriend and she brings him by the house and she's hoping that you're not home, that you don't come home at the time her boyfriend's at the house, right? So basically, because if you come home, then you're going to break down the illusion. You're going to say, wait a minute, you were cheating on me, right? Whereas if you come home an hour later, you would say, my wife is wonderful and she's perfect and she's an amazing person, right? So the thing that's really um that I see with that is that crypto's future, similar to the future of a Sam Bankman-Fried, is highly dependent upon what happens with other factors that are unrelated to the quality of their ability as an investor. I don't believe at all that Sam Bankman-Fried is the only person in high finance who has done something that could be defined as illegal. One thing that does happen is that whenever there's a crash, what happens is people start going back and they start doing very detailed forensics and really looking at every little detail to see exactly what you did right. And I guarantee you that 90% of you, if somebody really put a microscope on your life and said, we're going to go through every tax return you've ever filed and verify every single thing you ever wrote off and every little thing you've ever done, they will probably find something. They will probably, there's a chance that they would find something and say, oh wait, look at this, wait, you filed a bank loan in you got a bank loan in 2017 and you said your income was 98,200 and we found out your income was only 91,400, so that that's illegal because you lied on your form, and so now we're going to prosecute and all these other things, right? So effectively, when I think about the future of crypto, I think about the Sam Bankman-Frieds in the sense that a lot of people don't even know, for example, that the investments that Bankman-Fried made with the money that he was not supposed to use. So again, I want to be 100% clear. He did break the law. He deserved, what he got, and I'm not here to defend any of that. But a lot of the investments he made with that fake money or the money he wasn't supposed to have, those investments did extremely well. Once the sky cleared and once the crypto winter ended, they had a dilemma. They said, okay, so we're claiming this guy stole people's money, but what do you do if the money is there? Like, what do you do if like, what do you do if you say, hey, you took $1 billion? That was the biggest critique, right? You stole billions of dollars from people, right? Which again he did. But what do you do if the thief puts the money back and puts an extra $100,000 in the bank account just for good measure, right? Again, I'm not saying that he didn't break the law. Again, I keep going back to that so we don't misinterpret the discussion here. But but that's what he did, right? So it's crazy. So I don't know what Bankman did or how much he took exactly. So let's say he took $1 billion, right? And then the market crashes because what he did with the money is he took the money, he invested it in stuff, and those investments all plummeted at the same time. Right? So that crypto that he bought for $1 went down to 10 cents. So then the crypto winter ends. So then they say, oh, so you took $1 billion from people because you took the billion, you made these crappy investments, the investments sank down to zero. You're a loser. You stole this money. You're a crook. So while he's on trial, the crypto winter ends. That 10 cent, asset that he bought is now $1.20, and so all the money's back and then some. And they literally got to the point where they said, to our surprise, not only are we able to give every investor all their money back, we're going to give them an 18% premium on that investment. And what I want you to kind of see with this is not just timing in finance and how important that is, but also just the value of time. If in fact, for Bankman-Fried, what he probably really wanted, if he could make three wishes and wish for anything on earth, one of the things he would probably wish for is just more time. Like, give me another 2 years. I promise you, it's going to work out. And time is important because Jeff Bezos, if Jeff Bezos had not been given more time, if he'd run out of time, Amazon wouldn't exist because there were times where Amazon was deep in the red. There was times where Amazon looked like a terrible investment. Bezos tells a story about how he almost had to shut the doors on the company because he needed $1 million. He said, I had to take 60 meetings to raise the $1 million. I got $50,000 per person, and I had to give away 20% of Amazon to raise that $1 million. And now Amazon's worth a couple $1 trillion. So all those people made an amazing ROI on their investment. But if they said, you know what, we don't believe in you. This is where financial psychology comes into play. This is where emotion and belief and perception matters. Perception becomes reality in the world of finance, because if they just said, you know, Jeff, we were going through your history, and we found that you have a marijuana conviction from 10 years ago. So you're a felon, basically, and we don't trust you. We don't believe you. So we're not going to give you any money. Then Amazon wouldn't exist, because they wouldn't have enough faith in him to give him more time. And this is one of the things that makes it hard for Black people, especially Black men, to build businesses, is because your margin of error is very thin. I wrote a whole book about this when I was on the faculty of Syracuse, called "What If George Bush Were a Black Man?" And in this book I wrote in about 2004, was basically to kind of say that we underestimate from an economic standpoint how much your prior belief or your confidence in a person or an entity affects the ability of that entity to survive and to thrive. Do you understand how much perception makes a big difference in terms of realities, in terms of outcomes? There's a whole statistical theory on this, a whole statistical area called Bayesian analytics, Bayesian statistics, which basically says that if I already have a preconceived belief about you, if I've already got a head full of stereotypes, this is why stereotypes are so dangerous. This is why whenever you hear me yelling and screaming about the way some of these poor female rappers are just dismantling the image of the Black woman around the world in a horrible way, or why it's not cool that Black men are typecast as athletes, comedians, and rappers. Well, the reason that these stereotypes are important is because if people come up to you and they already see you in a certain way, that's going to impact their belief in whether or not they should invest in you. I'm not going to invest in you if I think that you're an idiot, a thug, a criminal, or a loser. I'm not. And it's my decision to invest in you, society's decision to invest in you, that directly impacts your probability of success. So when I tell you all that 80% of Black owned businesses fail, the reason 80% of Black owned businesses fail is partly driven by the fact that nobody has faith in Black people. Nobody believes that that Black man's going to be smart enough to do what Jeff Bezos did. If he ain't got the million, ain't nobody going to give him the million. They're going to say, oh, well, yeah, he's a Black guy. And those Black guys, all they do is make babies and rap and play basketball and whatever, right? They go to the strip club. They don't sit in the office and grind 14 hours a day to do what's necessary to make a company successful. They're loud and flashy. And if we were investing in him to go and become the next P. Diddy, we'd invest in that. But we're not going to invest in him trying to become the next Jeff Bezos, because Black guys just don't do that. So these perceptions and these stereotypes are incredibly important. And so to circle back, when we were talking about crypto a little while ago, you'll know me, I always circle back. I know I might take you around the world, but I promise I'll bring you back. Um, the perception of crypto is incredibly important in terms of the probability of success in crypto. A lot of times when media creates fear, uncertainty, and doubt, they call that FUD. What that does is that directly reduces the value of the asset, because things exist when you want them to exist. It reminds me of how they had that Cinco de Mayo holiday, and they said that your ancestors are only alive for as long as you remember them. Or when Peter Pan was talking to Tinkerbell, and Tinkerbell, they asked Tinkerbell, "Do fairies exist?" And she said, "They exist if you believe in them." So the question is crypto going to be successful, or is crypto going to fail? Well, crypto will be successful if we believe in crypto. If we all collectively believe in it, then we'll all collectively invest in it. If we all collectively invest in it, then it's going to be successful. But the question then becomes, what's going to happen? How's the public going to feel? And how are the regulators going to react to that? If the regulators come in and create laws that undermine the growth of crypto, and then create enough fear, uncertainty, and doubt that people don't want to invest in crypto, then crypto will ultimately fail. That will be a bad investment. And so one of the beliefs that I have, if you're talking about safe investing, is I don't think you should have more than 7% of your portfolio in crypto. This is not investing advice. This is just my opinion. This is my belief. But I think that if you have more than 7%, definitely more than 10% of your portfolio in crypto, you're taking an unnecessary amount of risk. And I encourage anybody, do all the alternative stuff. I mean, all these other things are a lot of fun. The private, I think investing should be fun. I think investing in things that you love, it adds an extra layer of joy that comes with investing. It does not have to be boring like watching grass grow. It's not just about the money, it's about quality of life. But at the same time, don't walk past the stock market. Don't walk past the wisdom that your grandfather has just because you want to be new and cool. Just because something's new does not mean it's better. People talk about progressive and futuristic and moving forward as if it's always good. No, sometimes you move forward into a place that is worse than where you were before. Just look at integration. That was so advanced and so forward thinking and so futuristic for black people, and it only made our situation worse. It made us worse in terms of education. It made us worse in terms of economics. It made us worse in terms of family structure. So stop thinking that everything that's new is better. Sometimes new ain't better. And stop disrespecting the wisdom of your elders. Your elders know, they know some shit, and you need to listen. You need to listen. And then at least you can move forward without making the same mistake that somebody else made 60 years earlier because you don't even know your history. You have to know the history. You have to know. You got to hear the stories from your grandmother and grandfather so you can make informed choices. And so to me, because I go through this sometimes where I'll have people say, Dr. Boyce, we want you to connect more with the youth, and we want you to, and I'm like, yeah, well, I do connect with the youth. I mentor a lot of people. I have young guys I meet with every single day of the week, and I work with them, and I learn from them a lot. But damn it, you're gonna learn from me too. Like I'm not going to just, like, again, it's an interesting, it's got to be an ecosystem in terms of the relationship that older people have with the youth. It has to be an ecosystem. You learn from me and I learn from you. It cannot be just you following me, because then you're not able to express your creativity and your originality. I get that. But then it can't just be me following you, where I am 53 years old doing TikTok dances because the shit's popular. I'm not doing things because they're popular. I'm not one of your little friends. I'm not trying to be that. I'm not trying to be a 53-year-old who's acting like a 25-year-old, because that's not going to work. That's me literally discounting 30 extra years of wisdom that I've accumulated and putting that all to the side because it ain't hip and it ain't cool, and the rappers don't like it. I don't give a damn about that. We got to make each other better. We have to make each other better. So I would say, for sure, based on, if you want a conclusion from today's conversation, every young person needs to be invested. Every single young person who wants to have money, you better invest. Stop thinking that job ain't going to do it for you. That is not going to give you financial security. That's not going to put you where you want to be. You have to invest in something. You have to sacrifice for the future if you want to have a future. Secondly, when you talk about investing, there are basic rules you can follow. Diversification is really important. Never get so enamored with one investment or one stock or one thing that you end up putting everything you have into one space. You have these stories where I saw an NFL player who said he wanted to get his whole paycheck in Bitcoin, and I said, why would you do that? That's the craziest thing in the world. I'm sure it might work out for you, but even if it works out, it's still a stupid decision, because it might have not worked out, and Bitcoin could collapse, and the next thing you know, you've got this worthless amount of money that's coming into your paycheck. That's not very wise. So what you do is you say, okay, I'm going to participate, but I'm not going to dump my whole economic body into that, and what gives you the wisdom to know that that's not the right move is you want to hear those stories about people who did exactly what you're doing, who lost everything. When you're investing, you really don't want to be in a position where you're going to lose everything if something goes wrong. You want to be diversified. That's really important. And then also just being consistent and making investing part of your culture. That's how people win. That's how people succeed. So anyway, these are some thoughts that I had on this topic. I think also from an economic consciousness standpoint, another important thing that I know I did not understand when I was young, but I understand it better as I get older, is that this too shall pass. Sometimes we can get so caught up in a moment where, like, you ever see pictures of somebody like from the 70s where literally the dude in the picture was like the coolest, hippest guy in 1974. Like he literally, maybe he looked like Bootsy Collins or something from, from I don't know what it wasn't Earth, Wind and Fire. It was the P-Funk. Like you ever see those P-Funk dudes and how they dressed? Like let me find a pic. I gotta find a picture. It was the craziest thing. Let me see if I can find. Hold on. Let me see. All right. Um, Let me see if I can find one. And just so you know, I love P Funk and I also love the greatest group of all time was Earth, Wind and Fire. Like Earth, Wind and Fire is the greatest. I met the guy who was one of the guys from Earth, Wind and Fire, the one that played the guitar that had the big hair. I met him in Los Angeles, and I was going up to get his autograph, and it was kind of cool. Like he was signing all these autographs with all these people, and he saw me in the crowd, and he just stopped and he said, brother, he said, I watch you every day. And that was kind of cool. That was like my clout moment because all the Hollywood people were like, "Who is this guy? Why is he paying attention to him?" But so I'm kind of like an acquired taste. Some people love what I do. Some people don't know who the hell I am and don't care, and I don't blame them. All right, so here's so if you look at like a picture like this, right? To me, when I see like a P-Funkish kind of picture, or I see like the Funkadelic or whatever, or I see my dad's old pictures where he's got the big hat and the fur coat and what like stuff that looked really cool in the 70s. I really wonder, like, I wonder if they would, how they felt taking that picture, right? Like in the moment, everything that you're doing is completely lit. Everything you're doing in the moment is hip and cool, and you're the coolest guy on the block. But you look at that same picture 20 years later, it looks crazy. You look ridiculous, right? And at that point, you can only laugh at yourself. You don't take yourself nearly as seriously as you did when you took that picture. And I kind of think about that when it comes to what's trendy with investing. A lot of times I think when we're young, we get caught in a trend and you think that that trend is going to last forever. Like you really think that what you're doing right now is going to be the best move for you forever. Like literally I'm overcommitting to the moment. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I want to kind of, and I think that overcommitment to the moment is a type of immaturity that we grow out of. And that's it's important to do that because sometimes overcommitting to the moment, for example, can cause somebody to when someone takes their life, like a 17-year-old takes his life because his girlfriend broke up with him. That's overcommitting to the moment because he doesn't realize that he's got the rest of his life to live. And 5 years from now, he won't even care about this girl anymore. But in that moment, it seems like that moment is forever. That moment's going to last a lifetime. I feel the same way about when my mother was pregnant with me when she was 17. They told her, "Well, it'll be easy for you if you just terminate the pregnancy." And my mother was like, "No, this baby's going to grow up. He's got a whole life ahead of him. It's going to get better." And I'm glad she had that perspective because it did. It got better. The financial challenges she had lasted about 2 more years. She married my father when I was 3. Things got better. And now my mother and I have had 50 something years of a wonderful life. I paid her house off. I'm here for her. She benefits in a million ways because I'm here. But if she had only been trapped in the moment, she would have never had any of that. The whole 50 something years of our existence together would disappear. Do you understand? So a lot of times I think that with financial consciousness, one aspect of consciousness is knowing that there's more to your life than what's in front of you. That's my point, right? There's more to life than what you're seeing right now in this particular place. There's a big gigantic world and there's a long time series such that everything that's happening, most things that are happening are eventually going to pass and it's going to become the past. So in fact, maybe a good consciousness exercise as an investor is to try to imagine the year 2030. Like try to meditate and imagine it right now. And then think about how you kind of look at the year 2030, right? It seems like it's futuristic, it's way off out there. Nobody's really talking about 2030 in the year 2024. Nobody's talking about 2035, right? But if you go out to 2030, what's interesting to me is that 2030 is to 2024 what 2024 was to 2018. Do you see? And 2018 was just yesterday. Most of you probably remember 2018 like it just happened. And so think about this. Imagine if in 2018 you'd invested to prepare for 2024. Like imagine in 2018 if you just made a series of investments in Bitcoin and different stocks, Apple, Nvidia, whatever, and you just consistently invested that money and you said I'm preparing for the year 2024. I'm struggling now, but I'm going to be in good shape by the year 2024. And let's say you committed to that and you were consistent and you did what you were supposed to do. Think about where you would be. You'd be in an amazing place. But here's the thing. Here's the problem. Here's the trick. This is the mind trick. It's crazy how this happens to all of us. In 2018, we weren't thinking about 2024 like that. 2024 was the future, right? And the future is always like this ambiguous place that we're never going to arrive to, but we always get there every time. Every time. I assume a lot of you are old enough to remember. Any of y'all remember when even the year 2000 seemed like it was way off in the future? Like it was never going to arrive? Like Prince was singing about how he's partying like it's 1999. And it's crazy to me. It's like, holy shit, like 2000 is a long time ago now. Like that's ancient history. Some of you in here were born maybe after the year 2000. And so time is a sneaky little bastard. It's so sneaky. And but the thing is, if you can really gain a connection to it and become very conscious of it and really feel it and flow with it and really respect it and accept it and don't waste it, that's one of your keys to wealth. I've told you all again, as a finance professor, we got to do equations and math. Everything we do is mathematical. The whole language is mathematics. When we've put together these equations that help us figure out wealth and how wealth grows, time is the number one variable in those equations. If you pour enough time into damn near anything that you're doing, you can get to whatever destination you want to get to. If I want to walk from New York to LA and I'm walking 1 inch per hour, walking incredibly slow, but I'm consistently walking from New York toward LA, if I give myself enough time, I can go from New York to LA, back to New York, back to LA, back to New York, back to LA, back to New York, back to LA. Do you understand? Time is the key. Time is the key. And where people lose wealth, in my opinion, is they waste time. You waste time. Or you give up on yourself. You say, "Oh, I'm broke right now. I'm gonna be broke forever." So then you start wasting time. And then next thing you know, you broke in 2015, you broke in 2016, you broke in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Instead of realizing that if I harness the power of time and then just pivot a little bit and do something a little bit different, and I do that little pivot, I commit to that new set of actions and I do it across enough time, then eventually I'm going to be at whatever destination I'm trying to get to. Do you understand? So don't waste time. Like time is wealth, time is power. Time gives you the keys to the universe, in my opinion. So sit back one day and just meditate and imagine the year 2030 and just say, what am I going to do with this time? And then also, time is a blessing and a gift. We're going to run out of time. We're running out of time right now. We have less time now than we had at the beginning of this conversation. What are you going to do with the rest of the time that you have? And when I say this, I really mean this. I'm serious about this to the point that it's almost like religious for me. Every year on New Year's, when I get a little bit sad about the fact that another year has gone by, it's a sadness sometimes, but a happiness too, an opportunity, but a sadness, right? You know what I do? I sit down and I budget my time for the year. I have there's 8,760 hours in a year. We're awake for about maybe 5,000 of those hours, and I will budget that time the same way you budget money. I budget time more than I budget money. My time is more valuable than my money. It's easy. And in fact, even when you get more money, it becomes more deliberate, more intentional. It becomes more apparent because there are people that I can give money to because I've got a little bit of money. But when I give you my time, oh, that means that whatever we're doing better be damn important. Do you understand? So process your time. Your time is that is your gift. That is your wealth. Use it appropriately and invest it properly, and that is what you will get you where you want to be. All right. So anyway, that's it. I hope it wasn't too preachy. I hope that you gained something from this conversation, and also I hope that your investing journey is going well. We're going to be back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, every single morning. We do this Money in the Morning economic elevation, financial consciousness training. If you want to get notified when we meet, get on the text list. Just pull out your phone, text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Also, if you live out of the country, I know some of you are out of the country, you can't get on the text list if you're out of the country. So just go to drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. All right, guys. So thank you so much for your time. It was great to see you. I hope you have a wonderful day. And let's not